Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tactician's Crown for Lore and Legends. We are here with day 2 of our competition, which means we are one step closer to determining our Tactician's Crown World Champion for Set 16. My name is Necker and I'm your host this weekend, and I'm stoked to be joined at the top of the day by Sealy and Panda. How are you both feeling after yesterday?
I mean, this day 2 is really intense because it's all set up by day 1 and all the action. Getting your huge lead, very, very important.
There's a smile on my face for a good reason. And Mia, finally on top on that day 1. I hope to see more of that all across the day as well.
Let's see just how long that smile lasts, or if we can. I know we really have a little bit of regional bias, I think, for some of our casters here. Sealy.
No bias. Just saying that Mia may have had the best day ever. And surely that can't continue, right, Panda?
I believe in it. I have full hope in all my players. That's all I'll say.
But in seriousness, EMEA did have the best day ever, full stop. There's no actual like ifs, ands, or buts we've got to put on that one. But day 2 is where it gets serious. Day 1 points are going to carry over, and our competitors are going to play an additional 7 games. After 2 games, we will cut 8 players. After 2 more games, we're going to make an additional cut. And at the end of today, we will have our 8 competitors that will take to the stage tomorrow in the grand finals for the Tactician's Crown for Lore and Legends. These eliminations are tough, guys. I mean, there's kind of no other way to slice that.
And the biggest thing is the players who barely survived the cut yesterday, they're still not in a good position. They have to continue playing this first or 8th coin flip style, if they like it or not, to try and continue climbing the standings and surviving each of those cuts as well.
Survival is very much the name of the game. Just make it to the next round because anything can happen. A lot of these players like to coin flip games and see if they go 1st or 8th. You know, the more coins you flip, maybe you go 1st more often the next games.
Dare I say that it's just a 1 game at a time scenario as well. It's even not just about survival, it's just about taking it 1 step at a time. At the end of today, our pick'ems powered by AWS will open back up. So make sure that you set a reminder and you get your opinions locked in, because there's still treasure tokens and little legends and all of that other good stuff on the line for you if you can get the predictions right for tomorrow. And we'll try to remind you at the end of the day to go check that out and see how they're doing. How are you guys doing with your pick'ems so far?
I flipped the coin.
And how did that go for you?
Not great. Marcel P was in my crystal ball to go 1st overall. That cannot happen anymore. That's all I'll say. That didn't go great.
My unwavering belief in Double, I think, has been rewarded. He is number 1 in my pick'ems, so I'm still very happy coming to day 2.
Well, just as a little bit of an update to all of you watching at home, so far on day 1 of our competition, our shortest game was 6-1 because Darth Noob hit Bilgewater 10 and decided to end it all early. And our longest game of the day was actually one that we showed on broadcast. We went to 7-1. So how are you both doing in that regard?
Both of them I'm not correct with, but we also knew the Darth Noob game was kind of over on like 4-1 when he basically got 10 Bilgewater, so we can move it even earlier if we want.
The cannons came out. I think there's not much to do against the Bilgewater cannons when they come out in full force.
That is true. Well, let's look back on some of the action that we had yesterday and give you some of those highlights in case you missed it. It was just so exciting to be able to see the start of our day. We had some really heavy hitters we got to focus in on. Of course, a lot of the conversation revolving around Wei-Jin Iverson, who won 3 TFT Pro Circuit Cups, and Huamye, who comes into this being able to accomplish something that we didn't think would be possible again, to deliver the same performance that Malala had in Set 10 Remix Rumble.
And it didn't quite pan out for Huamye, unfortunately. It was just barely cut across that 8-player cut yesterday, but there are still some very strong CN players for that region to root for in this day too.
This fight that we're seeing on screen was so incredibly close between Dasik and Brosif, both making it into this next day, but in different scenarios on the leaderboard. And so it was just a great cooking by Dasik here, using all of the extra resources he was given.
He got that orange so early, he was actually going to print a Radiant item from the Ornn if that game had extended any further than that. But I love being able to watch kind of all of the backline access some of these comps got. Kind of an unfortunate end for Wei Iverson there, but we were able to see things like Volibear, Warwick, and Yone even just kind of going crazy back there.
Even some Ishtal games. Milo had a very risky Ishtal game that he played to perfection. We saw on the alternate lobbies over there. I think Ishtal will be one of those comps that the players near the bottom of the standings need to lean into a little bit more for these first few games.
Yeah, but I think we're also seeing reroll was very, very prevalent, especially the Leona Malzahar as being one of the premier comps right now to play as far as consistency goes.
I love the celebration there by Brosif, and I also love how many people have taken the Food Fight Tactics augments just to see the pies and all the desserts getting flung across their components.
And talking about reroll, we have to touch on Darius as well, especially for someone like Revan there on the left. So impressive yesterday, that line. The few players who did play a lot of it had even first places with a 3-cost reroll you don't expect to win games.
It was very exciting to see how the games from yesterday finished, and let's take a look back at the standings for where our players landed after 6 games to the day. As we talked about already, unfortunately, one of the favorites for this competition, Hwamye, got eliminated at the end of yesterday in a pretty close tiebreaker, in fact, for 20 points.
Yeah, it was lower than we expected, and this final 8 players that got eliminated, we had some people on Twitter, Remy specifically, saying this looks like a final lobby at a Tactician's Crown. It's sad to see a lot of these players go.
Even someone like Ironbog we've seen play this fast 9, risky style, making top 8 very often, didn't quite pan out yesterday, and we found that instead of the first, the 8th place is coming in hard.
On this page, Lil Bear, the APAC regional winner, is also going to be the one in the hot seat moving into the rest of the day. Li Chuchuan also has a very hard day cut out for him. But as we move over towards the middle of the standings, these are the players that have a realistic chance to make it through these 7 games today and still make it into the grand finals.
I'm really looking at YBI1 and Evasion. I think 2 fan favorites to win the entire thing even coming into this weekend. They still have, like you mentioned, Necro, a realistic chance of making it through. The record is around 24 points from the start of day 2 to make it still to the top 8.
And these players set up much better. But the problem is, it's not that big of a difference being, 26 at the bottom of the previous page, 29 at the bottom of this one. And so unless you're really far ahead, it's a very sketchy day to try to make that final lobby.
We don't exactly have anybody that's really going to be a huge distance away from the field, because Double unfortunately lost that huge lead that he had after going first, second to start the day. But Revan, with a bunch of consistent performances, is actually going to be the player leading the charge there in first place, 39 points. That's a pretty good lead to have on the competition, but still a slim one.
I will say, for this first page, you cannot get too complacent. You have to still keep your head on your shoulders and say, I have to play some good, clean TFT, because we have seen some players in the past, not maybe at TACCON, but at regionals, choke leagues like these.
And there's at least 6 games today that they have to play before they can move on to the finals. And so every game, every point matters.
Double 61 got off to a hot streak, one of the best starts to a Tactician's Crown we have ever seen at this level. And we're going to have a tactical breakdown presented by HyperX, where Clement is going to break down why Double is able to get an edge over his competition.
Thank you so much for the warm welcomes here, Necra, and I am going to talk about Double's incredible history right here. As Necra mentioned, 31 points in the first 4 games, the best in Tactician's Crown history, and for 3 firsts to appear, that has only been done once by Jinzi. But however, he does have one hurdle to cross here, and it is his epic duel against Reddy. We're going to take stock of the situation right here before we go into the fight. This is Double's actually one and only reroll game. He is much more of a macro player. He has no real positioning moves to make right here because it is going to be an air axiom in the corner, and it is going to be a fully itemized LeBlanc, Darius, but no items on the Draven or the Kindred. Now, let's roll this clip and see how he fares against Reddy for the first time. Now, Reddy is also playing into another very, very strong reroll composition. It is going to be the Jinx and Freljord composition. And you've probably heard me complain about this in the broadcast many times before, but Rito, please, Dumbify, a little bit too good coming into these fights right here. Both of these are kind of a grind and push composition. And as we see the fight go on here, we will notice that there's taking a lot of time to get past that Dumbify and also to just crunch down the front line. And as that Jinx hits 18 auto attacks, she starts going into overdrive, starts mowing down the entire front line right here. And unfortunately for Double, his backline does not survive the onslaught. Now this is the really important moment, and I want chat to play around with us. This is going to be a chess puzzle. Double, as we all know, did win this game, but he did so with only one carousel pick that changed his fate. Take stock of the situation, 3-star Draven, 3-star LeBlanc fully itemized, no gold left to actually upgrade most of his units right here. Have you guys all memorized the situation?
Got it.
Got it. Okay, now we are going to go to the carousel. Let's take a look at the picks right here. There's some good AP items, some good mana regeneration items, and some tank items on the board. A pivotal fight ahead. I'm going to give you 5 extra seconds. Chat, I want you to be in on the fun here with our casters on the analyst desk and the telestrator. And we're going to go with Necra first.
Okay.
What item does Double pick to win this game?
I want to say that it is some type of tank item. I feel like in that last fight, Double struggled to have his front line stay alive. And so there's 2 approaches I would have taken to this. Either pick a tank line, because I think he's missing burn. So maybe that burn would be very good to help with the front line. Or you actually pick a mana generation item for Kindred so that her cast can actually help keep your front line alive.
You're on the right track, but can you actually just narrow it down to one item pick?
Oh, okay.
Just one, just one.
All right, and then you know what? I'm going to say. Oh, that's so cool. That's so tough.
Come on, we got a shoulder run here, please.
Even Shroud.
Even Shroud. Okay, how about you, CLE?
We have a 3-star Draven that has no items on it, so I probably would go for the damage item, probably the Striker's Flail.
The Striker's Flail?
My pick.
That's also a good answer.
I think that was
gold.
close. I think maybe it's a Sunfire. I didn't see where the Silas went. He has a Morello, but maybe he went off of the Golem, so the Sunfire would help in having the burn on the Golem all the time. Or there's no armor shred as well. So
you have to give
Sunfire.
one item. Sunfire,
yes.
Sunfire, Even Shroud, and you were also Even Shroud.
No, he's
Striker's
Guardbreak.
Flail.
Striker's Flail. Sorry. Okay, and chat, the correct answer is actually he beelines directly for the Nashers here,
Really?
the mana regeneration. And this is super important. Why? Because if we see his board as he goes back, he will have to optimize all of this. Remember, he only has one Reforger left. We're going to take a look at the plays he actually makes to win this game. And it does come down exactly to the wire. So if you did not get the right choice, you would have lost. Now let's look at Double's execution. He first spends all of his gold after selling his Annie, but he can't really get any upgrades. We already mentioned that. Removes the items onto the LeBlanc. Because he does have the Jeweled Gauntlet, the Nashor's Tooth is actually a stronger item here as the mana regeneration, and he can then shift the Shojin over to the Kindred.
I'll get half credit for this.
Necra was the closest. Necra was the closest for sure. As he takes that play, let's look at how close the fight actually was. Because in the previous fight, the Kindred did not cast until about 15 seconds into the fight as it actually got going there. He does some minor positioning, but it's not really impactful. Let's look at how different this fight actually ends up between Double and Ready. And if we look at the timer at the top right here, that is going to be the most important thing. 22 seconds into the fight, Kindred gets the first ult down across the entire front line with the shielding power. A huge difference in the frontline combat right here. Both of these comps are trying to grind each other out. And she even gets a second cast as it's just the back line into the back line. And look how close this fight actually goes. It's projectiles in midair. Both carries fall at the same time. But it is Double that gets the jousting win, the first hit in, and that is how Double secured the best start in Tactician's Crown history.
Wow, thank you so much, Clement, for that breakdown, that tactical breakdown presented by HyperX. Really cool to be able to see the specific optimizations that our competitors at this World Championship level are going for in order to get that edge over the competition. There have been a couple of other performers, though, that have done quite well, and I'm talking about comps. So real quickly, I want to go over the top compositions that we saw from day one. We got a chance to see the first clash across the regions, and we see kind of like a clear pattern, I think, from this first page.
Yep, there's Fast 9 and there's reroll. A lot of the reroll strategies do well from playing from behind, as we covered yesterday, but these Fast 9 comps, specifically around Galio and Rise, are doing very, very well.
And Demacia, we see they're not doing so, but it's mostly because we saw a lot of those Demacia players pivot into Galio, Rise, Demacia on stage 5 for the Fast 9 instead. So we're seeing those stats reflected around players who were not able to get out of that.
On this second page, we're able to see some of the other compositions that maybe weren't as played and not quite doing as well, specifically those melee carries, the Yone and the Warwick, kind of struggling there in the middle.
But there was one composition that is actually quite an outlier, and you did not get a chance to see on those 2 pages, and that was Shadow Isles. Both Dasik and Setsuko actually piloting that to a first place yesterday.
And it did terribly in the TPC. Only a 3% win rate throughout the rest of the set, and now both of them piling it to wins. And Setsuko also got a second with it.
And they did it with very unconventional means, with things like artifacts, for example, coming in, emblems like the long shot emblem on Callista from Dasik. So really creative players that were able to elevate that usually normal line into a first place potential as well.
It was really cool to be able to see the Shadow Isles perform, and also the competitors from each region that came out on top. I think when you take a look at this list, it's also competitors that maybe you might not have expected to see as the top players in each region.
Yeah, at the top we see on our sweet LED transition, we have mid-feed Setsuko, Li Xiao, and Revan, who, we've talked a good bit about. But I think the notable thing is it's not YBY1, it's not Weijin Iverson, it's not Huame, it's not even Double, who's, second. It's pretty good. But some of these more unknown characters.
I think in special cases like APAC and Americas for mid-feed and Setsuko, they did so playing unconventionally to how the region usually plays. APAC we saw was a lot of Fast 9, a lot of coin flippy first or 8th place style game plans, whereas midfield is the complete opposite. He wants to usually play around top 4s, around consistent comps like Warwick, for example. And for a day one, I think it makes a lot of sense just trying to get points on the board.
Also, we see on our regional AVP graph on the screen, EMEA was off to an incredible start, also an incredible finish as well. But APAC, probably the biggest surprise being towards the bottom here, really struggling to get out of even the 5s as an AVP as a region.
Which is just so unprecedented, because I feel like when you look back at last Tactician's Crown, even the fact that APAC was dominating in the grand finals, you would have expected maybe history would be able to repeat itself. But there's kind of another comeback hit, another comeback story that we want to highlight before we get into the first game of the day. And that is out of the top regional performer from EMEA, and that's Revan. What an amazing story this player has had to be able to accomplish what feels like almost an impossible feat, to come back on the brink of elimination yesterday, and just even before getting into the competition, a lot of people had written him off.
Yeah, it's a story that's really interesting because he used to be a League of Legends pro, had to retire due to a hand injury, and then came into TFT in an attempt to find competition once again. He moved from League of Legends to a creator role to then competing again in TFT, with Movistar Koi joining especially into the TFT scene. He said, you know what, I want to try this again, but in TFT instead. And we saw yesterday in particular with the Darius reroll, he played such an incredible role, playing 4 different games of Darius, winning 2 of those as well, showcasing that 3-cost reroll can also win. But really the narrative is the biggest thing for this player.
This set was a great set, right? First time that Spain has made it to the Tactician's Crown, but it started early, right? Winning the first TPC this set, and then after that, really not showing up much at all. He only needed like 14 points to make it on to week 2, and so his journey has been amazing.
It's all about coming back. That's what it is, and silencing the haters. I think when he moved into TPC, he was an invite for KO Coliseum the first season of TPC. He's a player who, a lot of the competitors in EMEA said he doesn't have the level to play in TPC. He doesn't have the level to hang with the best of the best, but he came in with a very unique playstyle, very high pressure, high tempo playstyle, and he shut everyone up. That's the real key moment where he really did well. He was in the top leaders in pro points, made 2 final lobbies as well. And this season, he took it up yet another notch. He won Shurima Cup. He won his first qualification in TAC round as well. But CLE, what happened after that?
Well, I mean, it kind of all fell apart. He just had terrible performances, and now going into the Tactician's Crown, he was kind of rated low by some people. And by some people, I mean me. I put him dead last in my tier list, and now he's all the way up at the top. And so today, he has said on Twitter, he said publicly to his stream, he knows what he's going for. Today is the day to make history.
Revan got relegated out of the TFT Pro Circuit after the performance at the EMEA Regional Finals with a win here in day 2 and also being able to make it to the Grand Finals tomorrow. Revan will actually reclaim a spot in the TFT Pro Circuit, and that would be a huge feat. We've never seen this happen for a player before, but I think it would be very cinematic to see where Revan has started, where he has gone, and where he can grow to be able to see him reach that height.
And it's almost on purpose. Revan as a player seems to farm for content, these kind of storylines where he hits this peak, and then suddenly he's quiet yet again. He's not quite there at the level that we expect from him, but in the biggest moments, when the lights are shining the absolute brightest, he comes back and silences everyone and says, you know what, I deserve to be here as well.
So you're telling me that he's doing this for the entertainment factor?
Listen, I would
TPC
not.
was all about the entertainment.
I have a belief deep in my mind that it is the pure content farm.
Listen, it's all about the redemption arc, right? It's all about the stories of these players and how they're performing. And so many of these players in our lobby need the very exact same thing here on day 2. I'm looking specifically at Revan in this lobby, who came in after winning 3 TPCs, very much the opposite of what Revan was doing. Incredible consistency, something we never thought would ever be done, and now sitting at 26 points. This is his worst start to a Tactician's crown ever. And so him starting off strong in day 2 is exactly what he needs.
It really worked much better when he was playing around flexible 4-cost or 5-cost lines.
Alright.
He plays with Darius, for example, whereas Revan played 4 games of Darius, had a lot of success. So I think it's just these players have different strengths. I think Weijin is a very complete TFT player. He can find a lot more edge playing for riskier and lines that really kind of ask more of you as a player, and I think Weijin, will make this big shift in day 2.
Okay,
sorry. There will be no encounter for this first game of our day 2, and that's kind of exciting. I feel like we've seen a couple too many friends for the encounters, and maybe this would be a nice, quiet, normal game.
Makes it so Elia
Fast 9 options are very
Pure,
less viable, but if you drop the Draven first off, that's a good start for Travis.
Talk about fast 9, players who really only play this high cap fast 9 boards instead of no reroll, especially considering most EMEA players did find a lot of edge on reroll as a whole. As a region, EMEA had a 3.0 AVP across 12 games on reroll. Travis played none of those, so he is a player who is only playing AP and only trying to end on fast 9 boards, in particular the Mel flex that he's characterized for in our region.
Looking across the lobby, it is possible to make 10 here early on, and I do believe one of our players is doing that. Aaliyah starting with only that Sona. He could possibly be selling in the
Ionia holder 2 ယောက်ရှိမယ် Kiana holder Raven ရှိမယ် 0 Blaze 2ကောင်ရှိမယ် Blaze 2ကောင်ရောင်းတယ်ဆိုင်အောင်ထည့်တယ် Variety ထည့်ပြန်သူ Ilawi 2 start သူရပါတယ်ဆိုတော့ Ilawi 2 start သူထည့်လိုက်မယ်
I'm definitely curious in whether or not maybe some of the play is actually going to be to follow the handbook we saw yesterday. Play Ionia, just play Yunara, try to get through stage 4 and then play for the big cap in stage 5.
Ooh, the chance to potentially play Billswater here, but no, sells the Nautilus right away and the Alawi just on the bench for now. So Weijin was big game yesterday. The
Weijin, ကျွန်တော်တို့ဘာများဆော့ပြသွားမလဲဒီနေ့မှာ
one was playing around Billswater.
Spreading root တဲ့ယူရယ် Invoker ယူရရမ်းမြန်ရယ်သူယူရတာသူရွေးတာဘာမှသိစဉ်းစားမနေဘူး Spreading root ယူရယ်ယူတယ် Invoker ကျွန်တော်အမြင်မှာဆိုရင် Vega Invoker ဆော့ကောင်းဆော့လို့ရမယ်ယူတယ်နဲ့ဆိုတော့ဗျာယူတယ် plus 1ဆိုရှပါးနာယူရတယ်ဘုတ်ကကျင်းကျင်းနဲ့ဆော့လို့ရမယ်ဒါပေမဲ့တိရတော့မကြောက်ဗျာဒါပေမဲ့ဒီမှာ CI ဘာညာနဲ့ flag လိုက်လို့ရတယ်တိတ်လို့ကိစ္စမရှိဘူး
needs to
ပြီး
play
တော့
for extremely high
လေးပဲ
risks,
လေးပဲအနေ
needs
နဲ့
to
က
flip some coins, and if those coin lands on any two from your
လေး
aura
ပဲအနေ
farming,
နဲ့က
that's a
ကြ
pretty good
တော့
flip. This is maybe what he
any
needed to
aura
try and fight for
family
a first place here.
သူပြဿနာပါလဲဆိုတော့ any aura family ကရမှာသူက RDK ကိုနိုင်မှုလူတယ်သူရန်ပလီလို့မရဘူး4-3မှရောက်ရတယ်ပြောတော့အနည်းဆုံး3 40လောက်ကျန်ရင်တော့အရင် fine သွားပြီ3 40လောက်မကြည့်ဘဲနဲ့သူရတက်လောက်ကျန်မယ်ဆိုရင်တော့သူတော့အဆင်ပြေမှာတယ်ပြီးတော့ blue buff any ဆိုဆိုတော့မွေလို့မရပဲကန်ကောင်းတယ်ပြောအောင် yeah ဒေါင်းမဲ TFT ဒေါင်းမဲအနေနဲ့ကကျွန်တော်ဝါဝဲဖြုတ်ဝင်ရတယ်သူတန်နုကတော့လူစီဆောမှာသူတန်နုရမော်အယ်လီယာလည်းသူကရီယိုဆောမှာသူတို့ကိုကြီးစုမယ်
Bodyguard training.
စင်ပြန်ဆုံး
There you go.
တော့
There you go.
okay
I like body training more, Nicholas, to be honest. I think I'm on board with your idea.
It's basically the same thing in my eyes because
Train the body, hone the mind.
yeah, and like bodyguards need to have like physical training.
That is true.
ဝီရနေစဉ်းစားမှာဒီမှာ level တင်ပြီးတော့ win streak ပဲဆောမှာ yes win streak ဆိုရ level တင်ပြီးတော့ဘာလို့သူဝဲနိုင်တာပြသူတော့ဝဲနိုင်အောင်သူ try ကြည့်မယ်ပြီးတော့အရှုံးခံတယ်ဒီပွဲက3ရောက်တော့ဗျာအဲ့တော့သူတို့ win streak ဆိုတာဒီပွဲကကောင်းတယ် win streak ဆိုတော့အခုတန်နုဆိုရင်ဒီမှာသူဒီမှာစီယာကြီးဟိုးထားတယ်သူ
Wow, Demacia seems to be a very
ပတ်စံလေးကက်ရှာဖို့အတွက်
choice.
ဂိုး20တော့ရှိမယ် interest 2ရဒီဘက်ကနေကျွန်တော်ကြည့်မယ်ဆိုရင်တော့အလီယာကတော့လုံးဝပုံရောင်ထားတယ်ပုံရောင်ပြီးတော့ Rio ရေးစုမယ်သူဘာလိုင်းရလဲလွတ်လဲကြည့်မယ်ကျွန်တော်တင်တော့သူဆိုမှ Jinx ဖြစ်ဖို့များပါတယ် Jinx မဟုတ်လို့ရှိရင်တော့သူဆိုမှမဲသာဟာပေါ့ဒါမှမဟုတ်နောက်ဆုံးနေနဲ့ကတော့နည်းနည်း contact ဖြစ်တဲ့Leblon Darius ပေါ့နော် Leblon Darius ဆိုတော့နည်းနည်းလေး contact ဖြစ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဓိကတော့သူစောမဲ့ line ကတော့ကျွန်တော် Jinx ဖြစ်ဖို့များပါတယ်သူ item နဲ့ ဒန်နုကတော့ဒီကြောင်ဒမာစီယာဆော့မယ်ဒမာစီယာကနေပြီးတော့တခြားဘာ flash လို့ရမယ်ပေါ့တခု flash ဘတ်ထုတ်နေဖြစ်တယ်ဒန်နုဟုတ်တယ် Jinx ထုတ်တယ်ဘတ်ထုတ်တယ်သူလည်း Jinx ဖြစ်သွားအောင်များတယ် Jinx တွေဟိုးရတယ်ဆို Jinx ကိုသူလည်းများတယ်ဒမာစီယာရောင်း Jinx ဆော့လိုက်လို့ရတယ်အဲ့တော့ဘတ်ထုတ်လိုက်ပါပြီဒန်နုဘတ်ကိုတော့ထုတ်ထားတယ်Raven အနေနဲ့လည်းပတ်ထုတ်ထားတယ်သူက Hafty Row နဲ့ပတ်ထုတ်ထားတာသူလည်း Rio ဖြစ်ဖို့များသူကတော့ကျွန်တော်ထင် RE ဖြစ်ဖို့များပါတယ်သူရဲ့ line ကဆလန်လာတဲ့ item က RE မဟုတ်လေဒါ Darius လည်းဖြစ်သွားနိုင်တယ်ဆိုတော့ yeah ပေါင်းလို့ဖြစ်နိုင်တယ် Darius ဖြစ်ဖို့ကတော့ပုံများပါတယ်ဘာလို့လဲသူနောက်မှာဆိုင်ရုံနဲ့ဟိုးတာရှန်နဲ့ဟိုးတာ
Okay, well, I can roll for the bard, but I can also go ahead and start
ဟာ
holding.
Elias စကီလေးမဟုတ်လေအဲဘေးလေးဗျာဟာအဲ့ပဲနိုင်လာတာဟိုမှာ EMB မှာဟာကိုဒီတော့နောက်ပြီ
Anyway.
It's going to depend who's angling Demacia.
အဲ့ဘေးကြီးဗျစကီလေးမပါဘူးဒီတစ်ခါမှာ
You sack all of stage 2 and 3. You get your savings account proc. You have a ton of gold to hit your entire
ဒီဘက်
Demacia
သူ
board.
တရားယူလိုက်တယ်
And then eventually
ဒီ
use
ဘက်
that
ပါ
gold to
အော်
kind of skip the
အော် Annie ဆော့မဲ့ပဲ okay သူ fight stat လောက်ဖို့ဖြစ်မယ်
and then recap your board
ပြီးတော့
around either Galio or around Annie.
win streak အနေနဲ့ကတော့ GOC နော် GOC ကအော် GOC win streak မှာပေါ့ heavy set crown နဲ့သူ front line ကောင်းတယ် Loris Sion Ilawi သူပြီးတော့ Sanfa နဲ့ဘယ်သူကတော့ front line တော်တော်ကောင်းနေပြင် back line ကလည်း damage လုံးတော့ရှိတယ်ဒီမှာ very fine နေထားမှရှိနေတယ်ပြီးတော့ Raven ကလေ Raven အရှုံးမခံတာတော့သူဘတ်ထုတ်တာဗျအဲ့ဒါကတော့တစ်မျိုးလေးပဲအဲ့ဒါကျွန်တော်မစွန့်ရင်မထုတ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဟို Jinx ကတော့ဒီဘက်ကတော့ဒါအရန်ကို contact ဖြစ်မှာ Jinx ကအခုကျွန်တော်တွေ့3ယောက်ရှိနေပြီ Heavy is the crown Jinx affiliates reroll မပြတ်နိုင်Jinx ကအခု3ယောက်လောက်ရှိမှာ contact ဆက်
rather than with something like the bruisers, but you could see that he was thinking about also keeping a Jinx.
In most cases, Aphelios is that path into Jinx. You have, unless you just natural a lot of Aphelios, you have a spot to play Bard with Aphelios, and in your Bard rolls you find...
Bodyguard training ပဲရတော့တရားဘောဒါဝါဝေးဆိုမှသူကတော့ contest ဖြစ်တာကသူ့ရဲ့ Jinx ရတော့ပါမှာပဲသူ Jinx ရတော့ပါမယ်ဒါပဲလို့နေတော့သူအေးဘော Jinx ဆိုရင်ဝါဘူးပါမှာဆိုတော့ဆင်အကောင်တော့တရားကိုတွေကတော့မတိမတာလေး contest နေကြရပဲဒီဘဲအနေနဲ့ show ချင်းကိုဆလန်လိုက်တယ်သူ okay ဘာလို့သူကအနိုင်ဆောင်မှာဆိုတော့ show ချင်းဆလန်နေမှာ Travis Watt က line ချိန်နိုင်ပြီတရားသူဟောပြောပါ If တက်ပြောပါအော် Bodyguard training နဲ့သူ If တက်ပြောပါအော်ပတ်ထုတ်တဲ့အချိန်မှာ H တက် unit တွေရပါ okay
but please don't please don't
ကို
play
ကြီးရှမ်း
Vagar.
ကိုကြီးရှမ်းကျွန်တော်
Just
ထင်သလောက်ကတော့
please
ဒါ
don't
သူ
play
Yeah,
Vagar.
Vega
that's
ပဲဖြစ်
fair.
ဖို့
It's
များပါတယ်
definitely a line you could play, and
Vega
I
ပဲ
think
ဖြစ်ဖို့များ
especially
တယ်သူ
Voker
Tactician တစ်
on
ခုရမယ်
Annie
ကာလို့စင်မှာတစ်
is
ခုဆိုတော့
really insane, and using
Mà sao
Yolos
à?
as a way to get
Vega
there
ကောင်းပါ
could
တယ်
be a good
Vega
game
ဖြုတ်
plan.
များ
You
တယ်
get extra resources
level 8
and
သွားပြီး
reroll
တော့ဗျာ
from
သူ
Shoro
Vega
and
ထုတ်နေတဲ့အချိန်မှာ
Yoro
Annie
as
ကောက်ရ
well.
အောင်
So
Annie လေးကောက်
maybe
ဆိုလိုက်
that's
ပြီ
the
အဲ့
end game to
အဲ့
try and get
item
that
နဲ့
high cap.
We mentioned it yesterday with Cam.
Vega
Cam
mà
ready to go
bộ,
7.
Annie
Playing
cái chỗ
Yordles,
này.
the 3-2 augment in particular matters a lot.
ဝေး
for
ရှမ်း
Yordles.
ဂိမ်းပလန်
One,
ဗျာ
if it's
တေး
prismatic,
ရလောက်စိတ်မယ်
and
သူ
ways
ယူ
to
တယ်
find a way to
ရှစ်
get
ကောင်
extra
ကို
rewards
အမြင်
from
သွား
it
မယ်
would be a
အဲ
viable game
ဟို
plan.
ဘတ်ယူတယ်ဘတ်ရ
Anyone
ရလောက်
Vega
ယူ
is
မယ်
probably
ကိုယ်
gonna
တွေပြန်
stay.
စုမယ် level 9
Then
သွားမယ်
Fury
စစ်ဆော့မယ်
using it as a
Vega
path,
2
like
အဲ့ဒါ
Jamal
သူ့ရဲ့
said,
ပုတ်
to
က
get
ပြီး
to
တော့
the
ရှစ်
fast
ပါးနဲ့
line
တူပါညာ
boards
နဲ့
for
နိုင်သွားပြီဗျာ
Ace in
ဒါပေ
particular
မဲ့
is a strong way to
ကိ
play
စ္စ
it.
ရှိရပါလဲ
Unless you
ဆို
have a
တော့
chance to
အဲ့
play for a 3
လော
cost Vega,
ပရိုလိုဘီ
choose
မှာ
the
လို့မျိုး
line
လွယ်လွယ်
that
ကူသွားလို့မရ
you
ဘူး
want.
level 9
If
တွေ
you
ပါ
wanna
ရ
take it, for example, you
အဲ့
can
level 8
choose
မှာအကြာကြီး stack ဖြစ်နေမှာအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်
Star
တိတ်ကြ
Vagar,
အောင်လို့
maybe I can get behind, but not just Vagar in itself.
Yeah,
But
Loris
let's see
do
what
for
happens
free,
on
man.
the
Hello?
next stage as we get closer to that.
Hello?
JRC is
Wow.
on a
Win
great
3 နေပါတယ်တော့ Loris
streak
ကြီး
and
မြန်မာလို
will
ကြီးပေးပါတယ်
probably maintain that with the Loris 2 hit.
And JRC had a good day yesterday.
အော်ဒါ
So,
6
you
ဆို
know,
မဟုတ်တောင်းမေးတောင်း
played
မေးဆိုရ
a
ပဲ
couple games with Demacia long shots, which was a comp that was nerfed, but he was
တောင်းမေး
even
မဟုတ်တောင်းမိုင်း
able to top 4. He
Down
didn't
Mike.
win any games, but top 4'd many of them playing around this tempo playstyle, and so 5-win streak is exactly where he wants to be.
And 2 Loris in that shot is just absolutely insane for what his game wants to do. We saw Loris with the Val yesterday doing so well in
ကောင်းတော့
stage
buddy
2
ထုတ်
and 3.
တယ်
These are the small little high rolls that really set you up for stage 3 in particular. I think JRC,
ကျုံနော်
if he
ပါနေ
finds
ဘတ်
a
ထုတ်
decent
ပွဲတယ်
upgrade on his backline,
အော်
Belly Two,
okay
for
okay
example,
ပါ
could
ဆုံး
be
လို့မြင်
a
သွားကြ
really strong player
ဘော်
in
ဒီက
stage
train နေ
2.
နေသူကဟိုဆုံးမှာ
We're on
Lissandra
board
ဆုံးမှာ
right now with Jiaomei, who is our JOC winner.
Lissandra
Someone who's
failure
started that,
ခွန်းကော
with this mobile
Bolívar
circuit, we
2
don't know too much
Lissandra
about
2
them as players,
Zillion 2
stats,
အဲ့ပုတ်
but
ပြီး
we
တော့
do
on
know
2နဲ့
is that
ဆုံး
they
မှာပေါ့
won a most recent
သူ
tournament.
အဲ့
They
သွားမှာကတ်
started
ရှောက်
off
ပြီး
decently,
ရသလောက်
middle
ကွက်
end
ရှောက်
table,
မယ်
26
ပြီးရင်
points.
level 8သွားမယ်
Maybe
ကတ်
they
ရှောက်
have
မယ်
to get a good
အဲ
comeback
Lissandra 2
today,
ရှာမယ်
but,
Drone 2 ရှာမယ်
I think
ဒါ
their
သူရဲ့
position's a good way
အ
to
လုပ်ပေါ့
start.
နော်
Don't underestimate
အဲ
the JRC
Travis Watt က
players.
လည်း
It's
body
something
train နေ
I
မယ်
learned
body train နေ
very,
နှစ်ယောက်
very
โอเค
quickly over
Travis
the
Watt ကတော့
last
Warwick
couple of
စောနာအတိုင်းပဲ
Tacticians crown. Especially because a player
အဲ
like
လေးဘယ်
Warwick
လေးဘယ်ကတော့
who
ရသလောက်
came
သွေး
in
ဆေးဖို့လို
through
မယ်
the
သူ့အနေ
JOC
ဒါ
circuit
ဒီ
last
state မှာ
set,
မရှုံးရင်ပိုကောင်းတော့
got
လေ
a
ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီ
second
state မှာ
place
ရှုံးရင်
in the
တော့
Tacticians
သူ့အတွက်က
crown, and also
အခြေအနေက
made
ကောင်းမှ
it
မထင်ဘူး
back
ဆို
to the
အဲ့
Tacticians crown
အန်နီ
without
တူ
a
ကြီးလာရပဲဆိုရင်အဲ့အန်နီတူကြီးကမကြမ်းဘူးဗျာအဲ့ဘလူးဘက်နဲ့
Looking at
ဘလူးဘက်နဲ့
Travis,
ဆို
this
ပို့
is
ဆို
one of
တိုင်း
the
မလို့
ways
ရှိ
to get to fast 9, of course.
Any
You're
do
playing
a Macau,
Arnonia, you're
I'm gonna
surviving
do
as
it.
well, you're gonna get the extra
တန်တကောင်
resources to
ဘာ
try
လိုင်း
and
နဲ့
push
ဘာလိုင်းနဲ့ကောင်
levels
နဲ့တက်တဲ့ကောင်
higher.
ရရဆိုမယ်အန်နီတူနဲ့
Really
စီပဲ
doubt
လို့ပြောသိမ
that
လို့
Travis
ဘာ
would
လို့
go
အန်
down
နီ
the
တူတစ်
line
ကောင်ပဲရှိ
of
တဲ့အခါ
playing
ကျ
for RE3, for
Boom.
example. This will be a loss.
ဟုတ်တယ်
It
စ
looks
ကန်လေး
like
တန်တစ်ခု
Anivia isn't a clean up here.
ဆိုဒီ
But
လေး
I
ပဲ
think Travis
ရော
is
င်း
still
နိုင်
in
သွား
a
တဲ့
good
ကြောင့်မသိ
position,
အဲ
just
ဖိုင်
having
ပါ
this win streak broken now.
အဲ့တော့ဒီ
to
state 3မှာ
push
သွေး
the
ဆေး
troubles.
ဖို့လိုတယ်
Especially with something like
Making
Lakin Specialist.
specialist.
I think it would
အဲ့
really
ဒီ
fit his
Travis ဆို
play
မှာ
style.
Travis က like
Although he
making
doesn't like
specialist
going
မ
fast 9
လို့
usually. He does
So
like
11 I'm
stabilizing on 8 and then slowly pushing to 9. So
ရမ
he
ယူ
does
ဟုတ်တယ်
fit it here.
He
Uh,
rolls it. Oh, seeing the augmented his power, we are
Okay.
going to get a
Okay.
gold
Yeah, I
augment
should- တွေးသုံးနေရတဲ့
the final
ဟုတ်ကဲ့
one
ယူလိုက်တယ်
Yeah.
of the game.
So
And this
from
is
you
boxing
and so
lessons,
oh
which
damn
really
finally
would
the
lock
earlier
in that you
very
probably
good
could play around Ione with
Tu
one
ang get
frontliners.
someone land
Here's Clement's favorite augment, Dumbify, being locked in for Aaliyah,
ပြီးတော့ရတဲ့ကောင်
being
လည်း
able
မိုက်
to
တယ်
provide a really solid
Ash
front
2
line.
star ဆိုတော့ဒီ
I will
damage
say
fine နဲ့
you're
သူ
gonna
ဖေး
be
တိုင်းဆိုလို့ရ
quite
အောင်
low on econ
သူ
with
item
this
မ
pickup,
ဆန်
but
သေး
the Cal cost is gonna
သူရဲ့
really
60နဲ့
help
ပဲ
you
ကျင်တယ်
extra rolls, especially if you're able to
သူ
continue
ဘာ
to
လို့
slot
Queen
through
Zoo ပဲ
the
ဆန်
early
နိုင်လား
stage
Queen Zoo
three.
ဆန်နိုင်တယ်မဆို
I'm
အဲ့
so
နဲ့
curious to see what his board looked like.
ဒါမှနာရှာပဲလို့
If
နာ
he
ရှာ
feels
နာရှာချိုးခြင်းပဲလုပ်မလား
prepare for this option, that would be crazy.
အဲ
This
GOC
is
ကတော့
crazier
Jinx
right
ဖြစ်ဖို့များပါတယ်
JRC,
Jinx
a very
will
strong
hold
spot, and Jinx pair in particular on that bench. If he finds a Jinx on this carousel, just in a natural shot before even rolling, I mean, it's going to be an insane spike for him.
But did you see the silver destiny into late game specialist?
Yeah. Really strong combination. I mean,
Silver Destiny
giving
ne
off the
first
greedy
nine
idea of
okay,
playing
James
Reco,
mode go
but when you have a 2-star Loris, and if you can hit a 2-star Jinx, for example, this is the path to make it to 9, right? Think of a normal 3-cost reroll game. There's a large portion of the game where you're on a 2-cost, and it's still going to win rounds, obviously, in stage 3 and 4.
Here's the problem, though. With his items and his setup now, he needs to go fast 9. The problem, day 1, fast 9 AD did so incredibly bad.
Reven gain
It had a
9
4 games, 7.75 AVP, which means you're probably going 8th if we're playing that. And so maybe JRC can fix those stats.
Long shots were
Iwata.
decent. Potentially you can play around
Awal
some
be wada
kind of
say tu ma lo be wada to.
variation with AD items as well. That would seem to be the default mode for most of our players when they're forced to play AD.
Oh, say tu ma say 3. Say 3
Ooh, I
be
really
wada.
like Darth Noob's second
Mid wada
option
nya.
choice. Being able to get that extra HP to work with that savings account, because, you know, we're playing for that late game scaling, playing for that stage 4. and so being able to have some more HP to work with
ကောင်းနေ
is always going to be a helpful thing.
Well,
I need
Downright
a data
definitely
net.
needs it. One of the trademarks of CN is going for these ish-tall lines with the cash outs. So
How do you
we'll
know?
see if Dialme can make
ဟို
good
မှု
use
လို့
of that
ဖီလီယို
additional
ကတော့မ
resource
လို့
that
ဒါ
he's
HDL
getting
ဝဲဆော်
from
အောင်မှာ
the HP.
HDL ပဲဖီလီယို
But
ဟိုဟာ
like, where
listen
can
တော့
you
ရင်း
actually
ဆော်
go
အောင်မှာ
from
listen
here?
တော့
Are
ဆို
you
တော့ဒီ
if you're
ဒါမှမဟုတ်
Dialme
listen တော့
trying
broom
to
နဲ့ဆော်
actually
အောင်မယ်
play for a block?
I
Oh,
don't
Yana,
think so. I think the
Loris,
hard part about
Rome,
Freljord
listen,
as
run
a
it.
+1 and just the Freljord line in general is
Milio
that
took line,
it's
be
quite
running.
weak if you're stuck on stage 4 and on level 8 boards, but it's quite strong if you make it to Rise, for example, in the late game. There are some 7 Freljord variations that can be strong, but it's a little bit harder to get to. You need Volibear as a main carry usually. So I would say Dialme's real test will be stage 4. If he can navigate stage 4 cleanly and not lose too much HP and make it to a strong level 9 board on stage 5, he can even be a lobby winner, I would say.
I mean, looking at our HP, he did take the Titanic Titan, so he has 106. He is HP maxing towards the top of our lobby. But we look at the bottom of our screen, we can see a picture of what's happening across the way. We are seeing Wei Jin lean even more into level 7. And those rerolls now on board for him. But the only one that's really interesting to me right now is Aaliyah, who's currently playing Misfortune, but has some good AP items.
Aaliyah's kind of player who, like other players in EMEA like Raiko and Dasik, they really like playing uncontested lines, they like playing stable lines, and so he didn't slam any of his items until he had a clear idea of what lines will be uncontested. And on stage 4, I imagine with all his extra resources from Calculaus, he'll swoop in on the line that he feels he has the best chance of hitting 2 stars on, and just fight for a stable top 4 performance.
Ooh. Revan is holding the pieces to try to go for the Noxus reroll. Has the LeBlanc, but also I think could think about an alternative game plan to this. When you're holding on to the Swain, maybe you decide to actually skip the reroll completely. But that would be interesting to see given he's banking up the rerolls and he's still at level 6 at this point.
Well, he does have Honor Roll, and that would give free rerolls every time he upgrades a unit that was on his board previously. So, keeping these units on his bench, or on his board that are not upgraded, then rolling to upgrade those to give him more free rerolls, will just enable him to play his comfort.
I see. I see where you're going with this.
Yep.
It does complicate things.
Rerolls is getting
and,
rerolls, but
ဝေးရှင်း
It does
ဝေးရှင်း
complicate
အနေ
things
နဲ့
quite
က
a lot, so we'll see how Revan will handle
win streak
complexity.
not wrong win
One of
streak
the
ရ
big
ဘူးကောင်း
prerequisites
သူ
we
ပြော
have
က
going into this
သူ
day two.
ဖေးကြရပြီ
How
တော့
Revan will do
မြားလေး
Rerolls
ဆို
to Draven.
moving off of Darius, if he moves off of Darius, because he's still holding some of the pieces, and as you mentioned, he just found the Darius.
Darius ပဲဆိုမလား
Draven, you mean?
Yeah, the Draven, sorry.
But
Yeah,
Draven
Darius
needs
was holding
Darius.
out
You
like
need
the
Draven to get the Darius.
လိုက်တယ်နဲ့
Yes.
So-
Okay. I'm just.
have to roll နဲ့ဟိုမှာနဲ့ဟိုနောက်တစ်ခုက
Right,
roll
no.
ထိပ်ပြီး
That's fine. It's
That's
fine.
what I'm
It's what-
doing,
You
yeah.
know what? Rolls equal rolls, and rolls equal 3 stars.
Travis Watt ကတော့
has
unit ဖြစ်သွား
unlocked
ပြီ political
Yone,
training unit
And so that's going to be one player that has definitely selected their line and wants to stay in
ရိုး
it.
အနေ
That's one
ရိုး
4
နေ
cost. Another 4 cost got unlocked by JRC to be able to unlock the Warwick. And
ဝေးရှင်း
we'll
ဒါ
keep
ရီ
seeing where
ဒါရီ
people
မပြောင်း
decide
လေ
to go with their
ဂျိုးတယ်ပဲ
costs,
လေ
but seeing a lot of 4 cost, seeing a lot of 3
ဂျိုး
cost
တယ်ပဲလေ
reroll.
Travis here
အော်
with
ဟိုအဲ့ဝေး
Yone
ရှင်းမ
ready
ရ
to
ပါ
go now.
Raven ဆိုပဲ
And we'll see if Travis actually commits to playing
အာရီ
Ionia
အဲ့
Yone.
ကျွန်တော် item ကြ
Very
ည့်တယ်သိတယ်
important
adaptive hand နဲ့
But it
titan
is
ဆို
a
ရဲအဲ့ဒါ
region
အာရီ
that
မဖြစ်နိုင်
did
တော့
quite poorly on Ari reroll, but they did very well on just Yone as a main carry, skipping the
အဲ့မ
reroll.
ပါအောင်ပါ
also because of a
ကျွန်တော်ဒီ
contest,
Discord မှာ
moved into
ပြောတဲ့
level
ဟိုဟာ
8
မ
instead,
ပါဘူး
which I think would fit Travis's style a little bit more.
အားရတယ်
It is comp that was played 13 times yesterday. Averaged about a 5, which is not great. But I do believe in the right situation, it is something that
ဒီ
can
နေ့
be
ဘယ်တော့မှမတွေ့
quite
ပါလား
stable. Not something that he played
ဟော
yesterday,
ရ
but
ပြီလား
definitely something that many of these players will be comfortable playing around because it's been good for a few patches now.
Wow, Darth Noob just went level 8 at PvE.
Yep, savings account has a lot of extra gold, doesn't want to mess up his transition into that Demacia line we were talking about earlier. And this
I
is
won't have
now
found
the
a way.
question for Darknub. He has to win essentially every fight now in stage 4. This is what his game plan revolves around.
ဒီဘရောကွက်တီရောက်လာတယ်ဒါပထမဆုံးပွဲမှာ637ရှိတယ်
able to assemble in stage 3, he could be in
အာ
big trouble.
ကိုယ်
I also think
အဲ့
Revan
ဘ
is
ဆိုရဆို
very
မှသူက
interesting
တ
right
ကောင်
now
မှမရှိ
because he
သေး
is lowest HP.
ဘယ်လို
He
တော့
has
လဲ
a ton of resources to be able to use here to bow it down. And it looks like we already have upgraded a couple units.
ဒီ
Wage
Zero
Patterson,
Sapa.
though, is sitting at the top of the table on the win streak. And here comes the roll down. We're able to upgrade a couple
yeah.
of these
So,
units,
no, yeah.
but not the primary
level on
tank,
2ဒါရီ
not
တူ
the
ရတာ
primary
5 မိုင်းဒီပွဲ
secondary carry either.
တ သူရဲ့သုံးခုမကျန်တော့လေ
It's so tough because you're right.
အာ
Like,
level on
it's
3ရောမလို့
complicated when you want the extra rolls from just being able to have the units on your board, but I think it's even better if you
Oh,
can
yeah,
just kind of
but-
start to get stuff
Yeah,
together.
let's do it.
Great roll down from Revan. He still has a couple of additional rerolls baked.
TOD က Jinx နဲ့
Hit the
First
stun
9
two
ဆိုတော့
before the Darius 2. Not sure what that says about his chances of hitting that Darius 3.
ဟုတ်တယ်
He's
on
still
roll
sitting on 40
Hefty roll
gold.
အမှ
Should
ဒီ
be
ကောင်တွေ့နေရ
stable
ရ
and should be able to stop the bleeding here coming into stage 4.
He also has hefty rolls.
Combo
so he's
might,
getting rewarded for rolling even more.
ဟိုဗါလေ
Units become
ဗါ
tankier,
prismatic
and
ticket နဲ့
it's
Hefty
going to
ရဲ့
be
low budget ပါရှင်
really
လား
hard to take this down late game after he spends all of his gold to get those units.
He will really need a item augment coming up at 4-2. Now, doesn't need more econ, combat power, not really as strong, I would say, with this Noxus Hero line as just having extra items on his LeBlanc in particular.
It's going to be gold.
And he's on 6 LeBlancs as well, so he needs the LeBlanc to carry more of
ပေး
the
ချင်
weight
ပါ
in
ကြ
this
ဘတ်တ
stage.
ကောင်နဲ့ထည့်ပြီးတော့ short လောချတာအ33ပေါ့
3-3s is
33
tempting, though.
what?
I mean,
really tempting.
33ဆိုဟဲ့ဝါရမ်းမသိ
Really
ကောင်
tempting.
Hello?
He's going to take
Oh, he's
it.
gonna take
Hit
it.
wide,
This is
Amity.
the Revan play.
အာတကောင်ပါတယ်တကောင်ပါတယ်တကောင်ပါတယ် Draven 2တိုင်း
So now he's at least close to upgrading
33ကကျွန်တော်အမြဲယူ
the unit, which is fantastic.
ပြီးတော့ on the roll ကလည်း bro 33နဲ့ကောင်းပြတ်တယ်နော်ကောင်းပြတ်တယ်သိ
Hitting
လား
one of these 3-star backliners
ဟုတ်တယ်ပါတယ်ပါတယ်33 3ကဆို3ခုရောက်သွားပြီလို့ bro
well, and
ဟုတ်တယ်
indexing on
ဟုတ်တယ်
a very
ဟုတ်တယ်
expensive
6ခု
comp because you have played for 3 econ augments, so you need to find
Oh,
some
dear.
kind of
33ယူလိုက်တဲ့တိုင်းတန်းပြီးအဲ့ heavy ဟို on the roll အဖက်ကဝင်သွားအဲ့တော့
Xiaomei is also pivoted off of the
Oh,
East
no,
Wall
well,
now
I
again
don't
for
33
the
you want.
early,
Zillion.
early Zillion.
Naturally,
yeah.
we're
Oh,
talking
econ
about
again.
him having to find a way to navigate stage 4 and make it to level 9. This is the risky position for any kind of failure to come, in my opinion, and Zillion is one of those ways to kind of try and just get out of level 8 as soon as possible and
Now-
make the 9 to unlock.
နောက်မဲ့တဲ့ဘက်က
And
H time ဆိုတော့ကတ်ရှောက်
item
ပြီးတော့
and some gold
this
from
end
that
တော့ပါပဲ
cash
ဆို
out.
တော့
So playing stage 3
ဟဲ့ဗော
as a
ဒီ
hamper
တူ
really
ငယ်ပါ
a
နေ
bit,
ဆိုရ
and
ပါဒါပေမဲ့
another
ဒီကောင်ဟိုက
loose
တိုက်တန်း
That
တိုက်နေ
little
နေ
bit
တော့
of a cash
ရ
out
ကွက်
to
များ
tap your
လုံးမ
board
လား
higher
ဒါ
in
မှ
the
မ
rest of
လုပ်
the
ဘူး
lobby because a reminder,
safe
no
ဖြစ်တာပဲ
counter
လုပ်တယ်
means
ဒါပေမဲ့
there's less
Zillion ရ
things
ထားတာ
going
တော့
on,
အရန်ကောင်းတာ
less
ပဲသူ
things
တို့
to make it
Zillion
more
မရှိရင်သူအဲ့ဒါတန်
Set the dummy.
Except the dummy. Yep, there it is. We see the power of it right there.
We talked about Leah trying to swoop into an uncontested comp. Leona Zoe is that comp, so found a really good way to just roll alongside Revan, for example. Leah already played one game of Leona yesterday, went quite well for him, so he is quite happy going to this line.
ဒီဘက်
So
အဲ့
I
ဘူး
was
လို့လေ
very excited about the Ionia augment for Travis until I
Like the
realized I
Neymar,
don't think that that's
JGB,
the Ionia
JG Nasha.
prismatic one. It's just Palladium. I think that's
Price
the
of Zillion.
comment
DR.
power.
ဒါမှမဟုတ်ဘလို့ပဲဒီလေ
So
5 set ဆန်
sad.
တော့အဲ့ရ
All right, Aaliyah is pretty
အဲ့ဒီရ
far
လည်းမ
away
ဆိုးပါ
from
ဘူး
all
အဲ့ဒီ
his
ရစစ်ဝင်း
upgrades,
street
but
မဲသား
I
2
do
star
believe he might just be waiting for Revan
Demify.
to continue on what he's doing because as more 3 costs get out of the pool, it will be
လေးဘက်ကချိုးချင်းချောင်းဘလူးဘက်နဲ့
Little Bear has arrived
လေးဘက်ကလည်း
3
ကောင်း
which
သွားပြီ
means
ကျွန်တော်ဒီ
his
ကောင်
tank
အရင်
and
ရှုံးမ
his
တင်နေတော့
damage
အရင်မ
carry
ရှုံးမအောင်
are
စစ်တွေ
now
မှာ
online.
ဒီမှာတွေးအများကြီးရှိတယ်
Visible
ဟိုပါ
Doctor
ဖြစ်
Order
တွေး90
for
ရောင်ရှိတယ်
Wilbur. He
တွေး
has
40ကျော်
played
ရှိမှလို့ခံမှန်းတာ
with
တွေး90ရောင်
this
ရတယ်ဒါ
risk
တော်တော်ကောင်း
strategy
လို့
of
ရှိ
aura
တယ်
farming has definitely paid off. He's now got to a point where you get to the free value of 2-star 5 costs with the Annie and the Tibbers as well. He should be winning, I would guess, every single fight in this stage 4, especially with last second save as his last augment.
Oh man, this dummy is so hard to take down, but the burn
မော်ဒီကိုင်စာနဲ့ကက်တရီနာတွေ့လား bro မော်ဒီကိုင်စာနဲ့ကက်တရီနာ
for Aaliyah, meaning that that win streak has ended and another one has begun. Xiaomei able to sneak out a fight win versus Travis.
That's really big because Travis is also rolled down to 0 gold. He's expecting to win most, or at the very least, some of these fights in stage 4. He's on a 3-loss streak right now, so definitely not going in his favor.
Weijin is going to keep stacking
Geo
up those
Geo စီက
Zordons. Maybe try
first
to
9ဆိုရင်
position for something else
ဟို
later.
ဟာ
Slayer
ဈေး
F1
ကြီးရပဲ
actually
ယူ
out
ရ
of
မှာဒီ
the
ကောင်
region out.
အုံးရ
Enforcement
အုံးအေး
looks
ပေါ့
like
အုံး
it was
ဖြစ်
there
ဖြစ်
to be able to get that Wukong
အုံးယူ
up
ရ
and stabilize that front line. But he is on a bit of a loss
ကောင်း
streak right
အ
now.
ကောင်းဆုံး
Gonna
ဘာဖြစ်လို့
try to probably see him go to 9 and stabilize there, huh?
တန့်အောင်ပါလာရတာဒါပေမဲ့တွေးရနေဝိုင်းတော့မကောင်း
I said that.
Yeah, you did. And but I want to call it out because I think it is really important because the aim of
Apa
Noxus
ino-
board is really towards Annie and being able to play around
Apa-
Invoker Annie with
အပိန်းဆုံးကောင်ကအပိန်းဆုံးကောင်ဖတ်တယ်စတစ်ပဲ
just going to be another way to possibly win this lobby because of his points currently in the standings.
ဘာမှဆောလို့မရဘူးဒီကောင်
Right, but
Carry
I
them
think
all.
the reason why I'm kind of
အုံးအောင်
looking
ရ
at it
တန့်လို့ရသေးဖတ်
to
တယ်စစ်က
wrap my head
တန့်
with is that you now know that there are 3 Annie that are
ဟိုမှာ
on the
ဟို
rails
ကောင်
for
ဖတ်တယ်စစ်က
both fronts.
damage တောင်
So is
မရှိ
that
ဘူး
actually still something that you want to try to play for?
damage carry လည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီကောင်ကဟို buff ပေးတယ်
Get
တော့
lucky. Okay.
Yeah.
တူတူပဲ
Fair enough. Oh, Revan
Talking about get lucky, roll down to essentially 0 from Revan, 3-star Draven.
Yeah, hey, Debo got Darius
Three-star
carry.
Darius as well.
General
Revan
Balang on
played
the gene.
so
I'm
much
gonna
of
Darius
yesterday,
and
so Revan yet again says if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Playing for the same.
You know, have the
Darius
rune
lineup.
or on the rune,
Even
be
when
or
he had the
I never
perfect
do it in
opportunity
the combo you
around
will like that.
Ari or something else.
Don't
No,
look
no.
combo.
The tried and true.
You can
we're
put
gonna
Jari
stick to it,
Generally,
and it
level 8
has
to
worked
you,
for him
level 9 to
handsomely, obviously on the first day. I'm very curious though with
level
the
9
tempo of
to
this
time
lobby,
you
maybe some
on
of
the
the players
road,
going
time
for a
soup,
higher cap if this can
run
stay
back
up.
na gong ya bi run back 2 set shot bi on road ထပ်ယူပြီးမှ have to ပေါက်ရအောင်ထပ်ယူ level ရွက်တင်ပြီးရင် time road နေ
can start to work up the standings, get into a top 4.
There's 3 very
ဟို
different.
တနေ့ကကျွန်တော် RE လို့ထိုင်
We're
လို့ပြောလေ
looking at someone like
RE
Jairus here a little
3
bit.
9000လောက်
They're
နေ
in
ပြော
very
ပါ
strong positions and pushing to 9. They have both the gold and HP to do so. So
ပြီးတော့
these
damage fine
players will
3
become the
1000 ဝယ်
strongest players
အဲ
most
damage
likely
fine
in
မှာ
the
ပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်
game.
have to road damage
Roll
fine
downs down. Then we have the 3
had to
rulers
damage
who are low
RE
HP,
RE နဲ့
back
damage
up,
fine နဲ့ have to
feeling
road နဲ့
very strong once they
ပွဲ
hit.
ပြီးနေ
Someone like Revan, someone like Aaliyah
ကောင်းရ
as well.
heavy
The danger
damage
zone
fine
right
ရတယ်ကြီး
now is someone like Wasian,
ဟိုကောင်
someone
level
like
9 ပို့လား level 10
Travis
ပို့လားမသိ
Hunter,
ကျွန်တော်မနိုင်
because they are on big loss streaks. They're not trending forward. Wasian is still a little bit further away from making it to 9 himself. And
ပြီးတော့
since
RE
he
is
has 0
separate
gold,
ဟိုအမော transaction
very
မော
low
separate
HP,
separate
his
သွေး
board
ထိုက်
does
ရ
not look too strong. I think it's fairly likely he's going to be in bot 4.
every time I read it I can
I
use
saw
slash
based on
all
his
that
bench that he is considering a pivot. You know, he's in this awkward
အမော
transition
သူ
stage
ဟာ
where he was
command
using
ခေါ်လို့မရ
vehicles,
လို့လေ
it's
သူ
starting
ဟို
to fall
သူ
off. Because he ended up getting that Wukong, he's actually starting to flex in the Ionia units as well as Demacia and trying to go towards this transition of being able to actually either play around something like the Lux
အဲ့
or
ဦးလေးတို့ lobby lobby လေးကတ်တယ်
on his
မပြော
bench.
သေးမပြော
So
သေး
he
မပြောသေးမ
has
ပြောသေး
options
ပြုတ်
available,
တော့
but
ပြုတ်
it
တော့
is just about kind of figuring out what
ပြုတ်
is
တော့
going
ပြုတ်
to
တော့
hit. And is it going to be
Robinson တို့ lobby လေး
very
ခတ်တယ်
strong
Robinson တို့ lobby
to
လေးခတ်တယ်ဟို
test
ဆက်စု
out
ကို
maybe
ပါတယ်
David,
နောက်ထပ်
who's
ဟို
also in the
နှစ်
front
ယောက်
line.
နှစ်ယောက်လောက်တော့အောင်
Even
ထပ်ပါတယ်
maybe
ကျန်တဲ့
the
ကောင်
best performing comp from day one, which would be Galio
That way
Rise,
be, man.
possibly
Lobby be.
holding those
Well,
Demacia
well.
units on bench. I mean, you can unlock it maybe even on the neutral round and just play around 3 Demacia.
Browser lobby က
These
အလွယ်
other
သုံးပဲ
regional
browser က
states
ဟိုအာတရုတ်နဲ့
really
iPad ပဲ
have the highest cap
သူ
on
အဲ့လိုမျိုးဟိုနာမည်ကြီးပလေတယောက်မပါဘူးသူ lobby မှာ
Demacia when you're playing with a Saviors and Count Demacia.
ဟိုလီရှိုးတယောက်ပဲပါမှာတရုတ်က
They have way more gold than you.
Run
They're
run
rolling
လီရှိုးတယောက်ပဲပါမှာ
way
လီရှိုး
before you.
လီရှိုး
And
လီရှိုးလောက်ပဲ
Demacia
ရှိမယ်
is
China
kind of a threshold comp where the moment you
ကျန်တဲ့
get
ဘယ်တွေက
Fury 2 and a Lux 2 and you unlock Galio, you become exponentially stronger than the turn before where you were on 1
အော်
star.
ဝီးချင်ကလေယူရဲဆုံးမလို့နဲ့သူဟိုကပြောင်းစော်ပါပဲ
Stage 4 as we're seeing, he's lost every
ပိုလီ
single
ပဲ
fight in
လီဆ
this
န်ရာ
stage.
ကိုဂါလီ
So
ကိုထုတ်
it's
စော်
more
ပါ
of
ပဲ
a fast 9 angle where he's using Demacia and Galio unlock, but once he makes it to Rise, that's where he gets stronger.
It's going to be there though, right? He's getting Rise soon.
level 9
Yeah, he
တင်ရ
does
မယ်
get
သူ
to
right
level
ထုတ်အောင်
9, but this is the exact composition that he won TPC 1 with. Being able to play around Volibear, play around this Rise, and really cap super high. That's how he won the checkmate, and so he's hoping he can do the same here in this lobby.
မဟုတ်မဟုတ် right ဆော်မှာ right က main ဗျာသူ right level တင်မှာနိုင်ရအောင်
Available, right?
Yeah, why not?
So I think
Right
the fact
to
that he's able to think about all of this within the game of like, okay, I need Rise, all right, I need Galio, like I have to get the Volibear unlocked at some point, and he's able to kind of consider all of these possibilities. Now you've got a Rise with the Invoker emblem, and this comp
3အောင်
is
3အောင်4အောင်မတော့ 3အောင်
nice
ဖြစ်သွားပြီ
for
3
you,
အောင်
but can it be enough?
And the biggest thing is setting up the Rise unlock on that PvE round because if not, if you
မဟုတ်
go next
မဟုတ်မဟုတ်
turn,
တမစီရ
it's a little bit more-
execute ပဲ
that's one more round where you don't have any unlocks, you're kind of in no man's land. And you're
မဟုတ်
kind of
မဟုတ်အဲ့ video
fighting
Ionia မှာ
one fight.
တမစီရပါတက်
Aaliyah
တက်လိုက်တော့
is
ဘာ
now
ပွဲ
gonna
ပြီး
spike
ပါ
with one of his backline carries. Will it be enough to start turning this
Go
loss
ahead,
around?
why?
That's the big question.
And this is kind of the
တကောင်ပဲလို့
point
ပဲ
of
Elia
taking
လေ
something like
အကုန်
Delphi here
အကုန် hit
inside
တယ်နော်
in
ဒီ
this
ပြိုင်ပွဲ
lobby
တွေမှာ
is
ဘယ်သူမှဟို
is
တကြိုမ hit ပြီး
right?
ဟို
He
လူ
did
လူပါ
go
ကောင်
down
မရှိဘူး
and obviously did hit most of his units down. He's now not had Leona quite yet.
ဒါပေမဲ့တူးစ
but
ရရောက်လို့ပဲ
from
မ
that,
တူးစမဲ့ဒီဗီဒီယိုကောင်တွေတီးရိုက်ခံရတယ်
he's 7 gold and stuck on level 7 for probably most of stage 5, and that's not the
ကျန်တော့
case for
level
someone
9 မ
like
ရောက်
Revan
လေ
who's
level 9
now
မရောက် level
aiming higher
87
than
မှာ
To have hit all of his upgrades and also having
don't-
Staffsmith and he has everything itemized.
Oh, any-
plus
any-
W, I
any
think the
video,
cap is
any
much
video,
higher than
any
you
video.
would usually get for a
I mean,
Jinx Leona
hey,
Mouse comp in
right to
general,
thatပြော
so
လို့ရှိရင်
I
any
do
နိုင်တယ်
expect
ဘာ line တွေမှာ
Leona
ဝင်ပြီး
to
execute ရ
get
ရ
top 4 in this game.
Death Cap Leona's best
By,
way.
by the Diana, do it. I
သူ
dare
က
you.
သူ့မှာ eco မရှိဘူးဝေးချင်း
And it can be a final unit on this board actually.
Percent,
Maybe
yeah,
tonight,
we-
over
GOC.
Tarek, depending on your matchups.
side ထုတ်မယ်ဒါ
It's a
the
big
first
moment for
9
JLC.
Kindred
This is
ဆိုရ
where he has sacked a lot of his HP. He's still
Sana
on
do
the
very
leader,
good.
48 HP, but he has to now
စာနာတူရရင် very
make
good
the strongest
onto
board he can.
onto
And
က
the 80 flex that you mentioned,
very
Sylvie,
တော့
was
မ
not
ကုတ်ဒါပေမဲ့
considered
ဆော့ လို့ရ
stacking
ဘာလို့
from
လဲ
this specific spot.
It's got to be good,
I
right?
think it has to be one of the premium positions to play for it. Orn 2, still no backline upgrades though.
Yeah, we do have the Shyvana now, so maybe we can get that on. We do have one on the
အ
board.
လိုတော့မဟုတ်ပါဘူးဟိုက Kindred 2
Don't have,
Sana 2ဆိုရင်တော့ရ
so many
ပြီးတော့
of
သူ
these
သွေး
on
event
board
နေ
we're
ရှိသေးတယ်
looking
ကိစ္စ
for,
တော့
but
မရှိ
I
သူ
think the
2 round လောက်
key
ရှင်
is
သေး
there.
အေးစေး
Right, we got a big upgrade in this orange.
ပြီးတော့ crown
'cause
crown
this
ဓမ္မစီရတယ်လေ
frontline
အဲ့တော့
and
သူ damage ကလည်း
also
မလောက်
getting on those backline
ပထမဆုံးပွဲ bro
next step.
game 1 game 1
Just watching this Senna pop off, but it's just not enough. I feel like the Senna wanted to maybe be on the other side, but it's also up against this Noxus hero that Revan has had online for a while, unupgraded.
On the flip side, Lil Bear on the left there, fighting against Travis's board, and Travis playing around these 80 milli carries. They're hanging on for a long time with the Omni Vamp. Fight against the Annie and will be winning. It's a really key win there. Lil Bear already level 9, has the Annie 2, but not able to win against Travis, who is still level 8. He has not gone 9. He said, you know what, I'm fighting for
ဒီကောင်အခုဒီ
instead.
listener 2မရသေးဘူးဟာ level 8မှာ4 2ရဲ့ထိုင်နေလေ
Asian
listener 2
Iverson
မ
has
ရ
also
သေးဘူး
turned things around.
Fight
two
3 ရောင်နေ
wins- 2 wins now back to back, and the lobby HP
ဝေးချက်နဲ့မရဘူး
dwindling.
ဘယ်သူမှမရဘူးလေ
Look
သူ
at
စတိုင်
that. 14
ဟော
HP
အကောင်လုံးတယောက်ကိုတယောက်
Delta
ကွန်တက်
from
နေရသေးတယ်
JRC
အဲ့အကောင်လုံး unit တွေက
to
ဓာတ်နေတာပဲ
Yeah,
အကောင်လုံး
it's
ကွန်တက်
all
ကန်နေ
coming
ရ
down closer together. Darth Noob also just hit a Galio too, so
ဝေးချက်မှာကောင်းတာဆိုရင်တော့ front line ပဲရှိ
place
front line
that
တစ်ခုလောက်ပဲ
playing
ရှိ
off,
ဘူး
but
သူ
he only
ကောင်းတာ
has 2, hopefully, lives left, and so it's going to be a good test here for Wasion's board and also JRC to face off against one another.
JRC got the Senna and the Kindred both upgraded, so rolled down pretty deep, but found
ဓမ္မစီ3ကောင်ဝေးချက်ကဓမ္မစီ3နောက်တစ်ကောင်နောက်တစ်ကောင်
Still on volley one, still on rise one. This is the big test. If you can
ရှင်းညောင်
beat
ရဲ့
JRC,
ကာလီရဲ့နောက်တစ်ကောင်
stronger players in this stage 5. That's very good news for his expected placement, and he does.
အဲ့တော့
So
trade တွေ
really
အများကြီးပဲ
strong
trade တွေအများကြီး
AP high cap board he's built here.
Also, just want to say,
Invoker,
three
survey
Rooster,
right
three
one.
Invoker, 3
This.
yeah.
good things come in threes.
တာဝန်သွေးပဲဖြည့်ပြီးရ
That's what they say.
Yeah, well,
They
you know,
beat it,
there's
David.
an option
Oh,
for
Campbell-이
three or
lumio.
two. You know, having 3 just like feels weird.
J4 လား J4 လားကျွန်တော်မမြင်
Perfect, you know?
No, I get what you mean, but I feel like more often I'm realizing that having to have that max synergy, like the next level of the synergy, is not like totally necessary. But maybe you get an emblem or something if you're lucky from the.
ပြီးတော့ volley ပဲတူး
round,
လို့လေ
and
ဝေး
then
ချင်
you can grab
volley ပဲတူး
it.
လဲကောင်း
Just makes my brain mad, you know? Just want to
It's
see
just
perfect.
no. But what if he had
ဟာ
bronze
ကျော်
for
အား
life,
ကြည့်ပြီးတော့သူ
man?
volley ပဲကိုထရီရထုတ်လိုက်တယ်
Then we don't
ထရီရထုတ်ပြီးတော့
want
front line ထရီရပေးတယ်
I'm really impressed by Travis in this game.
That's a bit-
Focusing
that's a
on
bit,
the
yeah.
Yone Slayered Leonia with the Aatrox coming in, still 1-star, but triple combat essentially, despite being level 8, he's able to fight against most of these boards.
ဒီဘေးကြီးကကြောက်စရာကြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်ပြောတဲ့အတိုင်းတော့လည်း level 8မှာထိုင်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီ FD ဝေးထိုင်တော့
Yeah, just a huge turnaround for a player who has not played much.
အကြီးတော့အကြီး
We have 3 players on brink of elimination in this game. Dialme, Darth Nub, and
ဘာမှမလုပ်ငါ
Lil Bear
level 8မှာ
all
ထိုင်ဘူးမယ်
under
ဆိုရယ်ကွ
10 HP single digits means they will
တဲ့ဘ
go
စကားနာ
through,
2
and
ရ
if
ဖို့
they
အတွက်
do,
စကား
end
နာ
up
ပြီးရင်ဒီကောင်
losing
နိုင်
the
ဝင်
round.
လိမ့်မယ်
Because
ဟိုအဲ့စကားနာ 2
Revan
ပြန်ရ
has
အောင်သား
swallowed
လိမ့်
it
မယ် ရိုးရိုးတစ်ခုရတယ်ဗျ
right here.
Sure could, because it depends on this matchup, and it looks like it would be Darth Noob versus
ဟုတ်ပါ
Jame.
ရအောင်မရအောင်
Both of these players on the brink of elimination.
Yeah,
So
I
one
got it,
player
I got
at
it,
least
I got it.
will be falling out, and
နှစ်ချက် level 8မှာကြောင်နှစ်ချက်နဲ့ရက်ကြံဗျာတိတ်ပြီးတော့ carry မဖြစ်တော့သေးမှာ၄ချက်တန်းနေ carry ဖြစ်တယ်
One of them is the Zillion for Dialme.
One of them is level 9. Dialme has
There's
been
another way that
stuck
they must show
the
why.
entire game. The real
There's another way that
the real test will
အော်
be how the
ဝေးချန်
competition
ဝေးချန်နဲ့
from
မဟုတ်ပါဘူး3ယောက်တောင်မရောက်ဝေးချန်တက်နူကို3ယောက်တော့
stage
ပုတ်ခဲ့တူတူ
four.
ပဲ
That was not
Contest
the case.
ရနေ
He's in 8th place. I think a little bit expected.
အဲ့တော့တက်နူပြုတ်တာကို
He
ဝေးချန်စောင့်
wasn't
နေ
a consistent AP line compared to Demacia, for example.
and it is America's Anamia on top here. APAC and CN.
အော်ဒီမှာဘယ်လိုပြောသလို
starting off
Ionia နဲ့ဆော့တာဒီပဲဟိုဟာဒါဒီသူကကြောက်ဆက်နေဆော့တာ
And so Darth Noob able to take a huge win for his board, but guess
Oh,
who
the
is
Momo.
still on fire? That would be our #1 point earner from day one. That is Revan.
Yes.
The big thing that has paid off is hefty rolls, being his thing that has really powered up the board in the late game.
We mentioned it, right? The reroll AVP for EMEA as a region 3.0, way better than any other region in that day.
bro LEI from လည်းကြည့်အောင် LEI from လည်းကြည့်လိုက်အောင် LEI from လည်းကြည့်လိုက်
Play into these reroll lines.
ဒီဦးနာ3နဲ့ဓမ္မဖိုင်းနဲ့
JRC versus Darth Nub on the left. We've got Travis versus Aaliyah. So Darth Nub and Travis are staring down
မင်း
elimination.
ဘာလို့နီးအောင်မ
in
နီး
this
စားဘူး
fight.
အကောင့်လေး
Looks
ကြိုက်
like
ပြီးမှာ
Travis is
တန်နု
going
ပြော
on
ရင်တော့
the
ဝေးချန်
losing
ပြော
end
ပြီ
of this
ဒါပေမဲ့တန်နုပြုတ်
long
မှာလား
run.
မ
So we
ပြောဘူး
reroll,
မပြော
and
ဘူးမ
it's
ပြော
very
ဘူး
close here between Darth
Tiêu
Nub
thì
and
tiêu à.
JRC.
Looks like Darth Noob will take it. The Lysandra cast coming through just to get enough, but JRC does not drop out, still staying at 1 life, actually 1 HP, but Travis falling out, and a bot for not the exact start he wanted.
Just not a good matchup.
We
for
can
these
A
players.
pure on it, pure on
Two
it. The
big
amateur
tank
dog.
with both the dummy and the Leona holding the line for so long.
I think fine.
Just can't
I think
access that
fine.
backline at
Oh,
all.
volley we do all pure.
Iverson
Volley we
ends
do
her
all.
time. He ran
Volley we
into
do all.
Aaliyah and Revan back to
Chios
back
yeah,
and ended up
Ali
losing
and
to
Yang
those
Gong
two
yo
players.
done it.
He is still missing the rise too. Once he finds the rise,
Oh,
it's a real
tu
test of
tu
how
hoa
strong
long ne
Asian
ti le tu
board
direct
will
tu
be
po
entering
kaung
this
ni dai
season.
on du phe
The
sai.
good news is that board has a lot of
မဖြစ်ဘူးလေ
backline
21ဘူးကြီး
access
2 star ဖြစ်တဲ့အား
that
တွေခောက်ထည့်
rise
တာ
where their boards are all
အုံးနေပါလေပါမဆိုင်အမှန်
It's
ကြီး
a
အဲ့ရ
big
တာ
tank
တာကုန်
that
ဟို
you
ကောင်ဖြစ်
cannot
ကောင်
take
တာရီ
down.
ဖြစ်ကောင်တာရီနဲ့သူ
Even the
fine နေသူ
Volibear, if he's
ပြန်
able
နိုင်
to
တယ်
not
Resistance
get
yeah, yeah.
aggroed early or near the middle of the fight, and he can actually jump into the back
Okay.
line and start
Oh,
terrorizing
yeah, like,
those 3-cost reroll back
Oh, yeah,
lines.
like,
That
hello.
would be a huge
ဘာ
factor
လို့
for
တော့ဘာလို့
Asian
ကောင်ပြန်
board.
ရောင်းနေရတော့
Looks like he's rolled 0 and has not
အဲ့
been
နောက်တော့
able
မနိုင်
to
တော့တင်တယ်နော်
find
ကိုယ်
that
ဟို
big
ကိုယ်ဟို
upgrade.
ကျဲနေသူတို့အများကြီး
Does have the
အပေါ်တော့
volunteers,
ဘယ်တော့ဝယ်ကြည့်လိုက် bro
so can
5 win 3
but
7 win 3 2
really
win 3
looking
တဲ့
for that rise.
ဘယ်လိုနိုင်တော့မှာ
Jarvan 2. We upgraded something at least.
ဟုတ်ဟုတ်မယ်
It's
တဲ့
gonna be-
ဟို
it's
သူ
might-
အားကြောင့်
It does make a difference here in this fight.
Kieran
It's the
Gundogan scan,
matchup
yeah.
that matters most.
Oh well, maybe this is
ဖူးတိုက်တယ်
okay
Karen
one.
2ဒီမှာ
It's
တန်း
going
တော့
to
အဲ့
be
တော့
a
ဘုတ်တူ
rise
တူပဲဒါပေမဲ့
versus
volley ပဲ2
rise.
နဲ့
Both of them
volley
one
ပဲ 1
star.
နဲ့
Equation
အဲ
Iverson
listen
able
2
to
နဲ့
knock
listen 1 နဲ့
out
တူနိုင်
Darth Noob. Then you have another rise
အိုး
coming up.
volley ပဲရမတည့်ရနေတယ် volley ပဲရမတည့်ရနေတယ်
Due to the set hex being occupied,
volley ပဲ
lots
ရ
of
မတည့်ရနေတယ်
DPS
ဝေးချင်
on
နေတာ
that
တက်
middle
သွားရတယ်
area. We'll see it's going to be a very close fight here between both of the Americas players. The Volibear now does finally get his next phase of the ult.
It's a matter of the secondary carries here. Volibear, can it survive long enough to get onto Lissandra? It does not, meaning Wajan Iverson will fall down here as that last cast does not kill it. It will be a 4th place.
တော့တော့ဖိုးရ
So
မလား
solid start. JRC falls out in 5th.
သူမဟုတ်ဟိုတန်းနူကတန်းနူကတခွက်ပြသွားတာစက်ကိုတောင်းမှထားရဲမ volley ပဲရမတည့်ရ
There's Rise.
And he was also stuck.
Karen Young, Karen Young, Karen Young, we do right to
Pushed
it,
two
like,
players
Karen Young,
for
Karen
him,
Young, we right to
bullying
it.
him out of his preferred line.
ကယ်ရအောင်ပြီးကယ်ရအောင်ပြီး right to ထည့်လိုက်
In shop, Silas now unlocked.
Yeah,
and
that
also
will
now
go.
purchased for Darth Noob, but it is him versus the re-rollers, and he's hoping that he can come out on top.
With the
ဝေးချမ်း
rise
ဆိုရင် side လို့ထည့်
of
လို့ပြ
the
တယ်
last
သိလား
spike
ကိုကိုကို
that
ထုတ်
both
ပြီး
Darknub and Wajan needed, we're going to see how it's going to fare here. And look at the Volibear in particular. I think he will be targeted quite early by the Zoe bubble, so it's going to be hard for
မဟုတ်လေ bro ရိုးတဲ့သူအမှန်
them
ရှိ
to
တယ်
the rise in this case.
It's going to be
အဝေးချမ်း
versus
တန်းလို့
the
ပြောပါ
ghost
ဝေးချမ်း
of
ပြော
Aaliyah, but Ghost can still be
ဒါပေမဲ့သူကယ်ရမတွေ့တာ
the
ကယ်ရမ
fact
တွေ့တာ
that this
အဲ့လိုလုပ်ရင်မကယ်ရမတွေ့သူ
is still
နိုင်သွားပြီ
very
ဗောတန်းနူက
wise
ဆို
of time, but
bro ဝေးချမ်းနဲ့တန်းနူက
Ghost
ပေါ့အတူ
still
တူပဲ
not as strong as what we would see from the original board.
I really like the addition of the set onto this board because it does percent HP damage, and so when it's able to pick up that dummy or even that Leona, it's able to do a massive amount of AoE to the opposite side.
အဲ့ Raven တော့ပေးရတယ်
So
ရှုပ်
Revan
လို့မ
did
ရအောင်
lose that 3-cost reroll mirror match against Aaliyah, so the big test will be now who Aaliyah's facing Darknub's real, so Revan will face one of the ghosts now as well. He should have a slightly easier match.
အဲ့ပဲ
but
ယူတာမှဆိုရင်
Revan's
ပုံ
on
စံ
one
နဲ့
life.
ပေးဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ပဲ
Revan's
ဒါ
on
ကျင်
one life. Aaliyah still
show
has
me.
at least 2 lives to play with.
အရင်စက်တွေအဲ့လောက်မဟုတ်
He looks like a stronger player right now, and I think understandably so. We mentioned it. The hard part would be hitting all your 3 stars because you don't have that much econ just with Calcloss, but once you do hit that, your overall cap is just that much higher with Dumbify and the Stabsmith.
All right, well, focus on the right-hand side. Darth Noob did beat the Ghost of Aaliyah in that last combat, but now it's the real thing. So can he actually get enough damage down into this dummy and start to access that backline there with the Zoe and the Malzahar? They're so low. The Malzahar also
မ
looks
လား
like
က
it's
တော့
gonna
ဟို
be taken down
တန်း
pretty
ဒါရ
easily.
သူမနာ
And it looks like
Oh,
it's
that
going
Kaloyan,
to be
Kaloyan.
Aaliyah maybe even being the weakest in this lobby, even with the Dumbify. And so Darth Noob has really shown what Fast 9 can do. Right, it's able to outcap, get to
တယောက်ကို
those
တယောက်
side
ကောင်း
stations,
တာနဲ့
seven
တယောက်တယောက်
costs
ကောင်းတာ
in
နဲ့
this set that you can't really access when you're re-rolling.
ဒါပေမဲ့တန်းနူကဟိုနဲ့မတွေ့သေးဘူးဟိုနဲ့မတွေ့သေးဘူးဟိုနဲ့မတွေ့သေးဘူးဟိုက Draven နဲ့မတွေ့သေးဘူး Draven ကိုမနိုင်ဆိုတော့
For Revan and Lissandra for Darknub. A little bit more impactful of a carousel compared to Aaliyah, who already has full items with that Stabsmith on most of his units.
Yeah, I guess you put this on the Seraphine.
Yep.
With the HP though, it's very interesting because it's all going to come down to matchups, right? Who gets to face
They're
Darth
gonna do.
Noob? Who gets to face Revan? What is going to be the matchup that maybe you could possibly squeak out a win in?
I think for Aaliyah and Revan, the name of the game is don't run into Darth
ယူ
Noob.
ရဲတော့မပါအောင်ဟုတ်တယ်မလားဒီပဲကုန်
Revan
မှာ
is going to be the opponent that Darknub will be facing here, so Darknub positioning for Revan.
စက်ကဘယ်သူလဲ
where Darius
ဩ
can get the full
Oh.
value from his ult.
စက်ကကို
Aaliyah
ဝူ
will
ခုံးမ
face
ထည့်ပဲနဲ့
Ghost,
ဆက်ထည့်
which
တာ
is good news for him if he's able to possibly get the win. He's
ဝူ
hoping
ခုံး
to
တော့ဘယ်လို
squeak
လဲရ
out
မှာသူ
second place if he can. We do have Kindred 2 in shop for Revan, which would be a big upgrade. As we watch the Rise ramp up on the side of Darth Noob, that is what is going to be the big problem. But as Darius stays alive longer and longer, the damage from the backline will continue to ramp and take down Darth Noob instead, and Leah falling as well. I think it's going to be a first
The big
kill
EY.
for Revan
Straight up Manai,
again.
Draven mana, Draven. Draven.
You guys have to hold the Dravens. Revan, despite the
Gotta want
leads,
Draven
pivots
mana.
into the Noxus. Rero was holding all the pieces. Had a great setup with both of his
မဟုတ်လေဘရိုကျွန်တော်ပြောလေ happy row ကအဲ့ကောင်
Another
row တွေအများကြီးပဲပြီးရင်9ရောက်ဝိုင်း29ကောင်ရောက်ဝိုင်းပြီးသွား
as we get through this game.
29ကောင်ကဘရို3စတာ3ကောင်ဗျာအဲ့29ကောင်အကောင်ရတိုင်းမတည်းရန်ထွက်တာ
It must be something like a 1.4.
အရင်မှာ damage ထွက်တယ်တစ်ချက်လှည့်တိုင်းကုန်ပြီပါ
It's every game he's playing it, and it kind of reminds me of some good success we've had in the past at Tactician's Crown, where you say, this is my comp, you can't play it because I'm going to play it every single game.
Okay, but also, like, who in their right mind
They all reward
wants
it, though.
to actually contest Revan on this comp? Are you really going to opt into that and say, you
Oh,
know
they-
what,
they
I
are the
feel
reward.
like
They are the
playing
reward.
Noxus reroll today, even though I know sure well
Ah.
that there is somebody that is going to be on it the entire game.
And it's hard to contest.
Come on.
You can't force your way into it. You have to find the Draven first in the first
မရှိ
place.
ဘူးမရှိဘူး
And
တယောက်
yes,
တယောက်တယောက်
Revan
contact
is
အတေး
the
contact တာ
user
မရှိ
able to always find it just in
ကောလုံး
time
မ
to
တူတာ
avoid
ကြီးဆုံးနေ
barriers.
It's absolutely insane, and he keeps doing it over and over. But we do want to call out all of the other great reroll that happened in that lobby. Aaliyah able to squeak out the second with that is exactly what he wanted, where Darth Noob, great Fast 9 play, not the result that he wanted, but for Armia, another strong start. I guess I didn't cast a curse them enough.
Maybe not, but maybe you also cast your bless. Something else. We do have some additional updates from the other lobbies that have been happening off the main broadcast. So, Makes, Clement, what did you watch over there?
Man, there was a lot that was going on in the other lobbies, and it looks like somebody may have taken a page out of Revan's book, because Robin, who's one of the players who are fighting elimination in the next couple of rounds, said, you know what, Noxus reroll, I got this. I'm just going to go down this route as well. I will say it looked pretty doomed for just a little while. Then he was able to stabilize on that Swain 2, roll down all of his gold on 5-1 to try and finally get those 3 stars. Still one copy short of that LeBlanc and that Draven, but in the end, it's good enough for a second place.
They can't keep getting away with it. It doesn't make any sense. Robin Songs actually even lost a PvE round and then rolled very, very deep to 0 gold, did not hit Darius 2. Was still able to come back on this Darius LeBlanc line. That's all you need to know about the power level.
Well, that's not the only thing that happened, because while we wanted to watch YBY1, another player took our attention. We used to call him Midfeed, but I believe you got a new name for him.
It's Wokich Feed. This was the most insane game that we've seen. One of the most high roll fun ones. It was Recombobulator into 4 different 5 costs, one of them being the Azir, and then he was able to end the carousel round with a Seraphine 2 ready for him just in shop, and he was able to get the Xerath online on 3-6 and got the lucky gold roll on 4-1. 10 extra gold into it, straight Fast 9, straight first place. What a easy win for him.
Easy win for him. There was something weird happening in that lobby, though, because there was Cambly with that Baron trying to maybe throw a rock in Midfeed's path, and he lost to none other than Yunara. So very strange things are happening. And if that's not wild enough for you, there was another lobby with triple prismatics and a player chasing Baron 3.
Yep, it was Lee Sao. He's back to his old tricks again. This was his most played composition in regionals as well. Triple prismatics. You got to go for the Baron right there. And another smooth sailing for the best CN player so far in the tournament.
That's right. Lee Sao first place, Obu second place on a Jinx comp. It was pretty close between the two of them, and he was 2 copies short of maybe finding that Baron 3, which we would have loved to show you guys, but that's it from us. I think we got a lot more craziness coming our way, and your next lobby is going to be that Robin lobby.
I'm speechless. Can you play? Hold on. Say that again. Recombobulator.
Yes.
Into
Four different 5 costs. Yep.
Azir?
With Xerath and Sharima.
The
On
basics are that we have YBY1 and Cambly in very, very dire situations, but Robin Songs and Robin Songs will likely continue to move on into the tournament. Those were the ones that we were looking at more of the bottom of the standings.
I will say for midfeet, he was on a Leona Zoe kind of comp before he found that recombobulator, so he must have just bought a couple of forecasts out of the shop right before that Silver Augment rolled around and just hit, man.
That is a nat 20 right there for sure. Well, Clement Makes, thank you so much for those updates. Wow, I don't know what else to say.
And Midfeet is a player who we talked about yesterday, didn't really like playing for high risk. He was playing around just high top 4 rate, 4 cost in particular, no fast 9. But if you have a spot for it, something the game just whispers to you, just click recombo. And I said you got rewarded for that one game of risk.
I definitely hear those whispers more often from other players because I love clicking some of these crazy augments that you definitely shouldn't click.
It's worked out for some of our players and they've gone risky, and it has not worked out for others. It's been really cool to be able to watch kind of where players decided to say, okay, yes, it is possible for me to take this risk versus no, I just want to be very risk averse. Let's see those standings though. With that update that we got from Makes and Clement, we can see where some of these players have fallen. We also saw the unfortunate demise of Lil Bear in that last game. Yes, tough road here for our competitors that are 25th, 26th, and 27th.
And these 8 players, if they stay on the bottom, will be eliminated just after this next game. And so starting off your day with an 8th place for Mori, Jaume, and FX specifically puts them in a really bad spot.
I'm looking at YBY1. He's a player who across all of his TAC rounds, 4 different tournaments, has never finished worse than 9th place. So very consistent top performer. He's definitely in the worst position he's ever been in a TAC round like this. I wonder if he can clutch up this next game.
Speaking of clutching up, we see a lot of players on this page, and I'm sure the next page too, that are really starting off strong. Robin needed exactly what he got, and we'll be able to watch him in the last lobby. But maybe Ovo specifically also getting that 2nd place, moving himself into a much more stable position.
Well, on this first page, these are the players that can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. Revan, Leeds out, midfeed, all getting a 1st place and pushing them over those 40-point line. Darth Noob and Aaliyah also joining them in that. But I'm also shocked to see that Double started today with an 8th place.
And yesterday's last game as well was not ideal, so this is where Double has to pull from his experience. This is his 8th TAC round, someone that has never, there's no one that's been here more often than him. He knows what he needs to do in his mental state to come back, reset, say, you know, 2 bad placements. I won 3 games in a row yesterday. I can do that again now.
Panda, there's 4 Amiya in top 8 right now.
I'm not even going to say it.
I'll say it. I'll say it. That's insane. They are absolutely popping off and just continuing to show that maybe their read is one of the best in this tournament, and it's just continuing to pay off.
Yeah, I think especially Aaliyah and Dasek have a very similar read, and it just works really well for the Swiss stage. You don't have to take these big risks. Dasek said a lot of players don't understand that to make it to final lobby, you don't need to win any games at all, and you can make it very easily as long as you have consistent 3rd and 4th places, and that's what they're both playing.
I was thinking for a second there that CLE was trying harder to cast or curse the EMEA region, and Panda just wasn't picking up on it.
We're uncursable, I'm starting to feel, especially after watching Revan win his 3rd game on a 7. I think he is definitely, there's no magic that can stop him, essentially.
Listen, I put Amiya dead last in my pickups as far as the region, and Revan dead last in my tier list. Clearly, I'm doing something. Keep doing this completely right or wrong.
Just
I don't
continue
know.
doing it.
It's been a secret to success for at least today and this weekend. But will that success continue as we get ready for the next game? This is where our players towards the bottom of our standings need to get it together, or they will face elimination. So this is going to be a really important game for us to follow as we go back to the Robin Songs lobby, where there are a couple of key players here. Robin Songs, Holy, both on 23 points, chances to keep themselves out of elimination. But for Mori and A2A, they are in the danger zone. They do really need a 3rd place for them to stay alive.
And similar to Revan, I think Robin sent a very clear message yesterday. America is a region so quite tragic. as an entire
Treasure
region.
Armory
Robin
ကြတော့ဒီမှာ
specifically
4-7 မှာ
playing
ပေးရ
three
ဆိုကျွန်တော်
games of
anomaly ရွေးလို့နေ
Leona,
တယ်မှာ
Zoe, Malzahar reroll.
ဟို
He had
ဆက်
a
ဆက်တော့
3.3
anomaly
or so
လုပ်
AVP, so
အမှတ်ထိုက်
very good scores on this line.
item တွေပါမယ် reroll တွေပါမယ်ပတ်စံတွေပါမယ်
So I think Robin
reforge
most
ကြ
likely
ရမှုပါတွေပါ
has a spot for it. Will be playing around the 3-cost reroll, and on the flip side, Setsuko.
item
we saw
component တွေ
the
ပေးမယ်
complete opposite.
ပြီး
No
တခါ
reroll from him whatsoever.
ကိုရွေးတဲ့ကောပုံ
Unconventional
မူတည်ပြ
fast
ကိုက
lines. That
ဈေး
didn't
ကြီး
quite
တ
work
ချို့ပွဲ
out
ကြ
in
ရင်
his
ခေါ်
first
ရမ
game,
တူဘူး
going
တပွဲ
into
ပွဲ
7th place.
ကိုကထားပါတော့ A ဆို
Great
ယူလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်
both
တချို့ပွဲတွေမှာ A ဆိုယူထားတဲ့ကောင်တွေက ready item ပါတာတို့ပါတော့တင်မယ်နဲ့ high ပွဲပါညာလို့ရှိ
being someone that we
ဒါပေမဲ့
know
နည်းနည်းတော့ဝဲသူတို့
of a
balance လုပ်
fast
သွားနိုင်မှာကြ
line demon in terms of capping out boards, but
balance
Robin
ဆိုဖြစ်မှာမဟုတ်
very
ဘူး
logical flow chart, as we like to call it, TFT
Ah,
played by
mas all
Robin.
yeah, I
And if
said
he's
down move.
determining that,
Toda-
hey, if I'm
toda
not high
esa
rolling
isa
and
nga.
have really high HP and able to streak, reroll is easy to
Kill
execute
quality
and
on
get those high placements with.
Well, a lot of the
Oh,
players
ah,
in these
such how-
lobbies
such how-
are
that's
also
such how,
just very respectful.
Oh,
and
these
they
are the real.
acknowledge when
These are the
someone
real.
else is in this line already. I think I can't
ကောင်းတယ်
contest
ဒီ
it.
စားဆိုလို့ကော
I wish my ranked games
Yeah,
were
yeah,
like
account
this
them,
and
yeah,
people
yeah.
see your spot and just go, yeah, okay, she
Bound
can have
goal, yeah.
this. But in competition, it is one thing where you say, well, I'm posturing to play this comp. Dare to play this game of chicken with me?
It is especially interesting in a format like this one and in these first two games of day 2. Players that are needing to come back in a big way in their points.
ကျွန်
The
တော်တို့အ
last
ကုန်
thing
ကြိုက်
they
တယ်
want to
ဒီ
do
စက်
is
တစ်
play
ချောက်
a
တော့
contested
တိတ်
reroll
ပြောစ
line
ရာမရှိ
because
ပါ
the
ဘူးအရင်စက်
expected
တော့ဆိုရင်ဟာအာကာလီယာဆော့ရပြန်ပြီ
so low
ဟိုခွေးတရိတ်ဆန်
that
အာ
it
ကာလီ
does
ယာ
not
ဒေါင်း
meet
ကို
the
င်းနေကြနေ
requirements
ပြီ
to
ဟို
have
မှာ
it.
ကမ်ဘလန်လီဝေါနေတနက်ပြနေ
This is
ပြန်ပြီ
where being high on
အာ
the
ပြီး
standings
တော့လို့ရှိရင်
in day 2 is a
ဘာလို့
huge
ရှိရင်ဗာလဲ
advantage.
နောက်တစ်ကောင်ရှိပါသေးတယ်ဟိုမှာကိုပူကူရဲ့ရာစုရဲ့ပေါင်လီဝေါတွေတင်နေပြီဘိုးတစ်ခုလုံးအဲ့လိုမပြီးတော့စက်တစ်ခုလုံးပြီးရင်
Can provide a lot of direction, possibly
ပြီးရင်
for
ကာဇန်တေး
players
ကာဇန်တေးက
like
ဟို
Setsuko
တန်းနေပြီးတော့
going around for that gold
ဖိုက်တာဖြစ်
destiny
ပြီးတော့ခေါင်းတွေလိုက်ပွဲ
side.
ခေါင်းတွေ
Robin
လိုက်ပွဲ
Song's
နေ
playing
ပေါ့
around
တော့
Legion of Threes
အပြီးကဟို
really
ကောင်
does
အကြီးက
enable
တစ်ချက်
a
ပြစ်
lot
လိုက်
of
တာ
these
တော့
reroll
လုံးပေးသွားတယ်
options,
ကွာ
and hey, depending on this Ionia, may be pretty clear.
Has
အစေးရုံကြီး
are
တစ်
you
ချက်
guys
နဲ့အကုန်
going
စေး
to
ရုံစံ
have
နေတာ
the game this game?
'Kay?
အဲ့ဆက်ဗျာ
We'll
အဲ့
get
ဆို
a
တ
bit
ကယ်
more
ပိန်းနေ
of
ဆက်
these
ဗျာ
resources there from the Ionia, and it's
စေးရုံ
never
အကောင်
a
လုံး
bad
စေးရုံ
thing.
ကြီးဆိုပြီးတော့ဆန်နာလူရှင်ဗီဒီယိုကလည်းပါလာတယ်ဆန်နာလူရှင်လုံးနေပြန်ပြီ
Ori 2 gonna
စက်
have
တစ်
a
ခုလုံးက
very
ပေါက်ခဲ့ရ
strong
တယ်ဗျာ
early
ဒီ
game.
တယ်
This is where players have to kind of scout and see, okay, what's the expected
Yeah.
game plan for stage 2 and 3.
ပြီးရင်
really
ပြီးရင်
does
ကရုံးပတ်
decide
ကရုံးပတ်
if
တုန်းက
level
လည်း
to
ကရုံး
4
ကအရန်
early
ကျန်
on
တယ်
you
သိရ
wanna
မ
play
လားကရုံး
more
ဒူး
blue
တိုက်ရ
streak,
အောင်နိုင်အောင်
because some players seemingly will be quite strong here at the start of this game.
မန်တာလေးကောင်နဲ့ကရုံးဒူးတိုက်ဒီဂျီနဲ့ပတ်လာရင်တေရောဂျီနဲ့ထိုးပန်းဆိုသေး
Ooh,
ရော
and Setsuko is forced into reroll. Hefty rolls off of the gold destiny means that a player who
I'll
has
be
not played any reroll whatsoever
ပြီးတော့ရှိ
will
ပါ
most
သေးတယ်
likely
ကိုက်စား
have to
ကိုက်စား
find the right reroll line to
ကိုက်
play
စား
as
ဒူ
well.
ကောကတစ်ချက်ပြလိုက်ရတယ်ဘာလို့သိပါရော
There's nothing on his board.
It's the Revan
ကိုက်စား
was an
ကိုက်စားဒူကောဆို
instant
အစကီရီရောဒမ်မ
Yeah,
ပေါင်း
and
လာ
I
တယ်
do
ရော
think we know that Noxus
ပြီးရင်ဒါရီ
is
ကခေါင်း
kind
ခွဲ
of
သေးတယ်
contested
ရောင်းမှု
with
စသေးပေါက်
AV1H,
သေးတယ်
playing around that early and taking the dark
ရောင်းမှုသေးပေါက်တာ
inside
တကယ်ကြီးอ่ะ
damage.
အဲ့သူ
But
ရောင်းမှု
for
ထည့်လိုက်ရင်ပုံထဲမှာ
Setsuko, will he play that target on Malzahar line that we've seen being
Oh,
the best performing
they
reroll
bought it
on
then.
day 1, or will he, maybe try to contest someone and cook something?
Robin's in his
ပြီးကြမှာ
lobby.
တကယ်သေးပေါက်တာ
Robin
ပြင်
is
ပေးထားပါ
the
လေ
Leona's
ပတ်
Zoe
ဆုံးမတည့်
player,
ရ
and Robin has an Arcanist emblem as well, plus Legion of Threes, so there could potentially be a contest between these two.
အဲ့ရောင်းမှုသေးတိုင်းအဲ့သေးပေါက်တဲ့တန်ထွက်
Similar to
Okay, yeah.
Revan, I think Robin is the one that has the psychological warfare advantage of saying,
Oh,
I'm
no.
playing this line a
No,
lot,
they-
I'm
they
kind
bought
of
it.
having good results.
အဲ့သူ
I will
passional ကတော့
be
သူတို့ထည့်ရေး
contested
သေးတယ်
or if you get into my
ငါတို့သေးပေါက်တော့ပြင်ပေးတာပါလေ
In regionals, though, this was Robin's
Ah,
most
this is the
successful
how they-
competition, is
And Ramos
the
we
Ionia
did it, and
card,
they
so
bought it then for
he's
that.
very probably happy to even stay on that line, but it hasn't been the same for
အဲ့စ
this
ကားတွေကပေါက်ခဲ့ရ
tournament,
စ
so
ပါ
he
ဗျာ
hasn't been able to pull that comp off at all yet.
Sorry, I was giggling at the fact that Raiko just
ဘရုံးရဲ့ twisted fate ရဲ့
left
ဈို
the
င်းပါရဲ့
board.
It's the Raiko special as
Oh,
well.
balance
He
မ
calls it
ဖြစ်သွားတာ
the
balance မ
magician
ဖြစ်သွားတာ
because
စက်က
he
မိုက်တယ်
snaps his fingers and his
စက်ကဗျာ
fingers
ဟို
disappear.
ငါဒါတို့
Most
ပါလာလို့ရ
often
ဖြစ်ကုန်မယ်
in
ကျွန်တော်တို့
this patch,
Pokemon လေး Pokemon ရွေးရင်ငါတို့
patch,
I choose you
Raiko
I choose you ဆိုပြီးတော့
pairs
အ
this
မှ
with bard rolling
ထည့်ပေး
1,
လိုက်
2,
လို့မျိုး
3, essentially kind of a restart mission on stage 2, sell your entire board and then find a more direction. We're seeing basically a similar
အဲ့
angle
ဒီ
here
ရမိုက်တယ်
with
အဲ့
the
ဒီ
bard
ရ
unlock.
လဲအတိမော idea မိုက်တယ် game idea မိုက်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့စက်ကသူတို့ရောက်ချင်တဲ့နေရာမရောက်ပါဘူးအရင်အဲ့ balance ဆိုပြီးတော့ artifact တွေကလည်းအရင်ကျန်လိုက်တာ artifact တွေပဲမဖြစ်
You know you can get that unit upgraded
ဘ
instantly.
ရို
and
rapid
provide
fire
a lot of
cannon
stability
gun ဘလန်
to our
တပုံလုံး
board.
lead 1
But
နေ
for
ပြတာ
Morty,
ban
you're
ban
already
တစ်ချက်
level
ရှိတယ်
5 here
ပြီးတော့
on
အဲ့တော့
Tuesday.
Dragon Beauty က
He is
unlimited
playing
damage ဗျာတည်ရမလား stacking ကတက်တိုက်ရတယ်အခုလေမျိုး15ပါရောက်သွားပေါ့ဒီမှာပြီးရင်တစ်ချက်ဘန်းပြီးတစ်ချက်ဘန်းပြီးတော့ဒီကောင်သွေးနေလို့ကောင်ကြီးလိုက်ပြတယ်ဗလိုက်တွေတေးသွားပေါင်းလိုက်မတေးကြလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုလက်ကအရှိဘန်းဆိုတစ်ချက်ချက်လာပြတယ်
It's just very stable. carry.
You
for
want the
stages
eye,
2 and
they will
3,
see.
and it feeds very well into my opinion the most stable.
အဲ့ကမ်းမနဲ့တွေ့ရဝိုင်းတာပြီးတော့ကိုးပါကြာတယ်ဒီကောင်သူသလိုက်ကိုးကြာ
Use tempo, have a strong
တကယ်
run on
တကယ်ဆို
C4.
two
Really fits Day6 plays
two
on the
goals
court.
ကဗျာ
All he wants to do is have safe games and fight for 30
two
points.
goals က
and
တက်
think
ကိုးလဲ
about
ကြာ
the
တယ်
long shots that we saw
လက်က
from
လည်းအ
him
ရှိကြီး
yesterday.
damage ကလည်းအများကြီးအဲ့ဒါ two goals ဗျာ
At the
ဘာ
bottom
မှ
of the
တိတ်လို့
screen,
မရှိ
you can see a snapshot of the whole lobby. Obviously, nothing on Raiko's
Taking a
board.
pause
But
there,
we'll
yeah.
look at Koyui, who is playing around what we would say
ပြီး
is
အဲ့ gambler တွေမဟုတ်
traditional
အဲ့ပုံမှာဆိုရင်
AD
Manda ၄ ကောင်
items,
တော့ဆိုတာ
and also a really good setup for it as well. Speedy double kill, giving that Guinsu Rage Blade, and as soon as 2 people die, getting a bunch of gold. Problem is, you gotta get there. You gotta have 2
That's
people
another
die in
idea,
the game,
yeah.
and that's the hard part.
အဲ့နှစ်စလုံးရရဲ့နီးရှိတယ်နှစ်စလုံးအော်တိုရရဲ့နီးရှိတယ်
people that fall before you. Surely.
အဲ့နီးရအဲ့ပရိုတွေသိရဗျာအဲ့ဘယ်သူမှသူတို့ဟိုမှာတိုင်မှာပဲတော့မတော့ live တွေပါတော့မတော့အဲ့နီးရပါလေဆိုအဲ့မပိုင်းတော့ထဲမှာဘေးမပိုင်းတော့တစ်ကောင်ရှိရဗျာဘေးမပိုင်းတော့လည်းမသိ3 goal ဆာမသိအဲ့ကောင်မှာ
This is a big running counter as
ဟို
well.
အတိမများ
So
မရှိ
some of the
ဘူးသူက
items,
အတိက
flames of
3 လုံး
Splash,
4 လုံးလောက်လို့
Trojan,
ရှိရ
they can
အဲ့
be
ကောင်ကို
powered
ပေးပြီး
to
တော့ပြန်
some
ဖြုတ်ပြီး
extent
နောက်တစ်ကောင်မှ
because
တက်
there
လိုက်
are
ရင်
quite a few contests happening,
အဲ့ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့တစ်ကောင်မှာကျတော့အဲ့ကောင်အဲ့ရာကန်ရနေများတာများနေတယ်
We see playing
ဝေများနေရဝေများနေတော့အဲ့ဒါအဲ့ကောင်ပရိုပရီရဲ့တည်ရပဲတည်ရောအဲ့
So giving
မပိုင်းတော့ဟို
them
မှာ
attacks
မတ်တာမှာ
facing off against AQ1H, who did
အေး draw မှာ
win
အေး draw မှာ
the
အေး draw အေး
game,
draw
really
ဟောမဟုတ်
pushing himself
ဟော
back.
အေး draw နဲ့ကြာပဲနှစ်ကောင်တော့များတယ်အဲ့မှာအဲ့
He
နှစ်
did
ကောင်ပဲ
start
ပေးရ
with 27 points.
I think
Points haven't
Janet Connie
updated
will be.
on our graphics here, but now has put himself in great contention.
And AQ1H most
They're
likely
gonna
playing
pause
with
it.
Flex. I think
No one
he
will
needs
judge
to exhibit the APAC playstyle we expect.
ဟို
of
စက်တွေ
playing
rating ပေးရမှာဆိုအဲ့တက်ကဟိုကြောက်တုံးပါ
I
လား
imagine the cutoff will be around 33 points after this game, 32 potentially in terms of the 8 players that get cut. So AQ1H needs to
Wow,
play
really?
for this riskier style. And he has already a great 3-item setup for the Mel with the Darkened Staff, the JG, and the Blue Buff.
ချတော့ခေါင်းနဲ့လက်ရချတော့
I'm excited to see where you go from here. I
Um,
want to
well,
see
I will be the head, I will be the
more
hand, I will be the leg, I
into
don't.
just like the straight. Demacia obviously holding on to the vein, and the maybe just
About
also
8
says
seconds
like, I
to
want
get
to just do Demacia unlock to get the Galio, and then use the Yordles for tempo to do the anything.
Oh,
ပြီးတော့
I
အဲ့လို
love
placement တွေ
seeing this
မှာအဲ့လိုဖြစ်လို့ဆိုပြီးတော့သူတို့
because
ဂိုးမနဲ့
this
placement
is
တွေ
a little bit of a mix of
ပြောင်း
his
ပေးလိုက်သေး
playstyles.
တယ်
High
ကို
risk is the name of the game
အဲ့
for
လို
him.
လုပ်ပေးလိုက်သေးတယ်
Playing some is
အကယ်၍သာမပိုင်းလို့ဆိုပြီးတော့ I will be the hand ယူ
He
ဟို
is
ကဟိုက်ရွေးလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်
an
တရားပေါင်း
unusual
နောက်
one.
နှစ်ခုကလက်နဲ့ဟိုရအောင်ဆိုအကယ်၍အဲ့ကောင်ရတာတီးလို့ရှိရင်ကိုရီးယားနောက်ဘယ်လိုပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဟိုဆေးလွှားမရတော့သူတီးသွားတယ်
in
တည်
terms
မှာ
of the creative
ဆေးလွှား
sense
မရ
for
တော့ဘယ်လိုလဲ
Sissoko
ဂိုး
as
မော
a
င် placement တွေ
player.
ပဲရတော့
I often feel like he's been looked
That's
at
all
as one
by
of
the
the
way.
competitors that's been great
အဲ့တော့
at
ပြိုင်
being
ပွဲ
able
ကြ
to
တော့တော်တော်လေး
actually
ပါလို့လေ I will be the
like
head
lost
လိုက်တယ်
streak
သူ
and
အဲ့
then
မ
go
ပိုင်း
to
လို့တုံး
some
အောင်လေ
sort
အား
of
ကြီးဝင်
fast
စီးတော့တယ်ပြီး
nine
ဟန်း
to
တွေ
recover
လက်တွေပါ
that.
မပြီးတော့
And so just
Be
like
wow.
Setsuko kind of
Not gonna
playing
be.
at more of
So
like
did I
an
win these
Ishtal
or-
level, I'm just like maybe it is reroll, but maybe he's also gonna do something more creative with it.
Chris
He's
again
holding
better
Mundo Vi, so I think it's probably going to be an attempt to play into Jinx reroll. It's currently uncontested. Most of the lobby is hovering
Duja
on
Dora.
AP for the most
Oh,
part.
so fighter.
Any kind of AD line
So
will
fighter.
favor him, and with
Aku
Gwen
di
Sears,
argument
have
ni
a
ba
bunch
so
of
weekend
abilities
ni
to
ba
smash with the
yeah.
mashers, and then just salvage bin the item with the Gwen Scissors and go into AD instead. We talk about
ပြီးတော့အဲ့မှာ
Setsuko
လေး
as a
ဘုတ်
player,
တစ်ခုလာပါသေးတယ်
all
ဆို
about
ဖိုက်တာပြောမှ
unconventional
တတိယသွားတာ
finding
ဘိုလီ
edge
ဘေးအနောက်ကနေ
and
အရှိကြီးကို
not
ခုံးနေ
being
ဟာကြီးသိရမလား
contested for the
ဟို
most
နေ
part.
ရာကို
To then
တိတ်ချချ
push
ပြီး
level
တော့
8, push
ဘိုလီဘေး
level
ရပါတိုင်းနဲ့
9
ဝင်
win
ဝင်ခုံ
games.
သွားတယ်
So
ဟို
I
နှစ်ကောင်
expect
လုံး
him to
ကြော်
play
ပြီးတော့ခုံ
AD.
သွားတာ
Getting another bow here.
လူကျွန်တော်
Great
၄
for
ကောင်
that
လေ
option. But looking
ပြီးရင်
at
လူ
the
ကျွန်တော်တွေ
lobby
သွေးတော့
tempo,
ကြိုးသွားလို့ရှိရင်
five
ဟို
people
ပလိုင်းနဲ့
are
ဟိုတခါတည်းရိုက်ဝင်လာသေး
on
ဘန်ဘန်
streaks.
ဆိုခုံလာ
Two
စ
of
တဲ့
them
ပြီး
at
တော့
the win, two of them
Dude,
at
start
the
a cooldown,
loss.
yeah.
So we'll see if Setsuko takes another quest here and what it might be. This will really shape how his stage 3 goes and where he aims for the end of the
အဲ
stage.
ဟို
We did
ဗာလေ
spam
ကင်မရာပလိတ်နဲ့
some
ဟို
of these items.
He wants to alternate. He's just thinking.
ကင်မ
like,
ရာ
yeah,
ပလိတ်
I
ကို
should
အဲ့ရ
have
အောင်
here.
အဲ့အတီကိုကျွေးပြီးတော့ပတ်စံ
In
ထိုင်
attack
ပြီး
round,
first line သွားတာ
I hope he did it.
Okay,
Okay, good. He
okay.
picked the safe option with hefty rolls, going for the 11 rerolls. I think you'll want to push 7.
ပြီးတော့
ideally, he
အဲ့
gets a
နာ
lot of
နဲ့
gold
first
from
line
his
သွားပြီး
team
တော့
to
တွစ်စ
offer.
ဖိတ်
He
ဒီ
can
ကောင်
push 7
ကောက်ဆို
early.
ပြောင်းပြီး
He
တွစ်စ
has
ဖိတ်နဲ့
found
ဆိုင်ပါ
a
ဆိုတော့
jinx in the shop here. I wonder if he wants to just go
အဲ့
for
ဆက်
the
တစ်ခုလုံး
reroll.
ကောင်းတဲ့အချက်ပြောတယ်မရှိမကောင်းတဲ့ချက်တွေ
With that one in the regional finals, and he did cash it out on his second attempt. So,
run ဆိုလို့လည်းမကောင်းဘူးသိရမှာအကောင်လုံးပေါက်ခဲ့ရတယ်နဲ့မူးချက်ကို
I think that's why he was laughing.
he knows.
Raiko, one of the
ဒီ
Yordle
ဆက်ကရတယ်
masters
ဒီဆက်က
next
ပါ
round.
အောင်
He'd
ပြီ
be
ဒီ
happy
ဆက်က
to hear.
ဆိုရ
He played 4 games of this Yordle comp
ဒီဆက်က
across,
အကောင်တွေများပြီးတော့
regionals
ပွဲမ
just
ပြတ်
two.
ပါဘူးဗျာနည်းနည်း
I love it.
ဆော့လို့ရတယ်
Qualified directly there. He likes
unlockable
a lot to
mechanic
play
ကလည်း
his loose streak opener into being uncontested.
နောက်ဆက်ကတော့တရား
Battles
မရှိ
as
ရော
well.
မရှိရော
We'll see
နောက်
how
ဆက်
it
ကတော့
goes here. Most
နောက်ဆက်
likely
ကတော့
we'll
နည်းနည်း
try
တော့
and
ပြင်း
play,
သွားတယ်ကျွန်တော်
like
အ
we
ကောင်းနေအ
mentioned,
များကြီးမဟုတ်
the
တော့
Veigar, the Fizz.
ကျွန်တော်တို့က game ပလေးတစ်ခုကြည့်လိုက်သေးတယ်ဘက်ကဗျာတယောက်ကိုတက်ပြီးသွားလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ကောင်ကမြေဝဲမှာတေသွားမှာမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ဟိုအပေါ်ကနေပြီးတော့အာကာသလင်ကြီးရတယ်လာပြီးတော့အဲ့ကောင်ကောက်ဆုပ်သွားတယ်ကောက်ဆုပ်ပြီးထွက်သွားတယ်အသေးတဲ့ပုံစံအလဲတကောင်းလာတယ်အာကာသလင်ကြီးရောက်လာတယ်ပြီးကောက်ဆုပ်သွားတယ်လီဘောတင်သွားတယ်တင်းကြီးလက်သွားတယ်
And go into
မသိ
Veigar.
trade တာပါလဲမသိ
Get the
ဟာဓာတ်လေးရောက်တယ်ဓာတ်ငါဓာတ်ပဲကြောင်း1 2 3 4 5ကြောင်း
More players need your assistance on their strategy.
Yes. Wow, this is crazy. That's a lot of swords.
Yeah, it's a lot of items.
ထုလိုက်တယ်ကွာ
The
အာ
small ones, we're gonna
လက်
get
တီ
one of
ဝါ
the
ကြီး
Darius
ဆက်ရည်
items as well as a
ကျမ်း
great backline item
ကျန်တယ်
instead.
ကောင်းတယ်
And
ကောင်း
so
အိုက်တန်ရ
you
ကောင်း
can't be too upset with how this ended up.
And this is a very good
နောက်ဆက်က
consideration,
နောက်ဆက်က
especially
animation
on
လေးကိုလှိုက်
this
မှာသူတို့
encounter. You
တင်တဲ့
can
ဗီဒီယိုလေးတွေ့
reforge full items without being at such a mercy because you can then separate those full whatever random item you get and still find the right components that you want for AP.
Basic. This might be
ဟော
looking
future
at
land ဆိုတာဟိုကတောက်လာမဲ့ land ဟိုကဇောနဲ့
this
သုံးမယ်
setup.
ဆိုရ
He
ပွဲပဲ
already got off the Oriana carry.
အဲ့ဒါ Las Vegas ပါလေ
Straight into this LeBlanc and Darius line because the items are really, really good for it.
အမော future land အဲ့ဒါမဟုတ် future land နောက်လာမဲ့ land ပွဲပဲ
Because you have Slammin on the side of Dasic. Like I do see that you're holding a bunch of copies, but I feel like you could still go for
Oh,
some
Momo.
type of
You know,
build
monster
angle.
attack
Wouldn't
do-
this really be dependent on the
မော
next
စာအတက်
lobby
လို့
that
ပါ
we see?
reckoning ဘာ reckoning
And
လို့
who's
တစ်ခု
contesting?
ရှိသေး
Is
တယ်
anyone else contesting the Noxus line? We have lifting competition from one of our players as well. So
မောနောက်ဆက်
just
နောက်
the
ဆက်န
general
မေ
AP
space ပေါ့
space is quite
အာကာသ
congested
န
in
ဖေး
this game, and trying to navigate into a line that
Akaza
is
na
a little
fiyan,
more
ကျွန်တော်
free
တွေ့
on is going to be really important. If Basic gets off of Demacia altogether, this is really, really good news for Mori, who was maybe angling that line a little bit more heavily.
မောမောဒီပွဲပြီးသွားရင်မော bro ဒီ game 2ပြီးသွားရင်ဟွာလာလိုက်မယ်
We see Raiko on the other
ဟွာ
side.
ဒီ
who
ဆက်နောက်ဆက်
already
အတစ်တွေ
has
တစ်ခု
the
ကျင်
Vigon
ညာလိမ့်မယ်
unlocked. Also got a great augment in the Jewel Lotus on
အာ
3-2.
ခေါ်နေဗျာခေါ်ရာသူကခေါ်လေ
I love the Veigar. Well, maybe you can actually
Ah,
get
yeah.
some.
Yeah,
some
so mo
KOs
ne lu ne
with-
tui
that's-
ne.
You need to get this damage. That's been kind of a hard thing for our Veigar players to accomplish in these games, but it looks like Raiko is gonna do it.
This is what Raiko does so well in
Meteor.
EMEA, and I think now on this TAC stage as well. Pushing level 7 very early, even before the 3-cost reroll players on
ပြီးတော့မော
3-2
နောက်တစ်တစ်ယောက်ပါသေးအကိုတို့ပါ
these
ပါ
are the
သေး
lines
အကိုနဲ့
like
အာရီလာပြီတက်ပါ
like doing this as well. For
အ
example,
ကိုကခေါ်တိုင်း
Ionia, for example, without the Ari, the build water lines, the shadow walls, the Yordles here in particular as well.
Look at the bottom of the screen, see where players have ended up right now. Setsuko did take some lesser duplicators and might actually be playing some Ixtal Ari Ionia reroll that was kind of good a couple patches ago. It was a very niche reroll comp to play around, but if Ari is uncontested, it could be a good spot from land while still getting more of the results from Ishtals alongside it.
What about Robinsons?
I mean, who knows what he's going to do.
Well, because since Robinsons is known to be a reroller for this meta, I feel like you do have to keep an eye on what Robinsons is doing and see whether or not he is holding copies of Ari. since he's
Mazi
still
will go
in
to
the
Mazi.
Ionia line, as you've pointed out, with the Legion of Threes. Like, it just, I don't know if Setsuko would do that or maybe try to reroll for something like the Melio instead.
ချိန်ယူရတော့အဲ့
Basic has rolled quite heavily, so
Tell
he's
you
definitely
leave it.
indicating he's
Tell you
playing
leave it.
Blanc Darius duo carry. Setsuko has not leveled to 7 yet.
This
But
item
so
မိုက်လိုက်တာ
holding
LeBlanc
off
2
on
ဆော
any,
အိုင်ဒါကောင်း
you know, key game
ဒါပြီး
like
ဆိုင်
this
တယ်
where
မိုက်
we
တယ်
see what Robin
စ
does.
ကားမင်း
And I think often that might be a good plan, especially while playing Ishtal, because you can use a lot of that gold in your quests to help give you some more of those sun shards and really power you up in late game. Raiko taking a big hit from Dasic here, who is down at 20 gold, so obviously this is what Dasic was looking for. But no Darius 2 makes this still a little bit sketchy.
ဟုတ်တယ်ကျွန်တော် grandmother လည်းမရဘူးလို့ဒီမှာ
Maybe contesting Dasic.
Master has a dead.
Robinsons and Setsuko
Master.
still looking across from each other to
Master
see what
has a
they're going
dead.
to do.
ကျွန်မရ
And
တည်း
everybody else has started to lock in other things. How far will Dasic roll?
ကျွန်မမာဇာကိုရောက်လာ
Chloe
ကျွန်တော်
Lane
မာဇာ has တယ်
already
ပြော
has
တယ်
Kaisa unlocked to be able to start to itemize that.
မာဇာတော့မရဘူးလား
already shown us the Veigar.
We see the fight here between Dasic and AQ1H. Or, I know AQ1H was
Oh,
stating
I
his
go
mark
say
on
that,
his
yeah.
composition early in the game. If Dasic
Darius,
just
yeah.
swept in and said,
Darius, yeah, shit. Momo.
nope, not for
ဒီ
free.
ပဲဒီ
We can't let
RG
this
81
revenue
က
stream
ဟို
happen
ဆို
in this
ဖတ်
lobby
ဆိုင်
too.
တော့မှာသူစကန်ထုတ်တယ်
Still think this could be, I guess maybe not, because you would want a lot of gold injection, right? Because otherwise I would say maybe you could still try to go
ကျွန်တော်
down
ကြည့်ရ
here
လို့
for
ရတူပဲ
H1H.
ဆက်တကူပါတယ်မှာ
You need to find Mbessa.
Hey, oh,
to
blue
begin
three
as well.
net-
Sometimes when you roll
blue three
7,
net
you can
have
find an
to
early
net.
Mbessa, you can stop rolling and just say, okay, I have
Have
the
to
Mbessa
net
already,
on
part of
it.
unlocking Mel. I might as well just push level.
Have
instead,
youအခု
push
လက်ရှိ
up,
အကောင်းဆုံး
start
augment လို့
going.
ပြော
In
ရ
this case, doesn't find the Mbessa either. And this is where Darius will start to fail as a comp. You really have to hit a lot of 3 stars if you're contested. You
ပြီး
need
တော့
so
access
much
ကို
more
ကျော်
gold to do
ကောမ
so.
န်ပတ်တယ်နော်အဲ့က
And it's
တချို့
speaking
လို့မရ
that
ဘူး
goes
တိုင်ဝမ်
from
ဆုံးကနေ World
potential
Champion ဆုံးနေ
first
ကောမ
to
န်ပတ်
maybe
ပြီး
an
တော့
8th. We saw Weijin getting 8th yesterday. Quite a few players actually.
There is a 12% chance that we could see a prismatic augment to finish out this
ရိုးနေရ
game.
And there's Setsuko, I think, very smartly pivoting
But
into
are
Jinx,
you
saying,
near that?
I don't want
Jinx
any
zone
of
near
this AP bloodbath. I'm going to reformulate my
Oh,
items,
oh,
thanks to
that was
Gwen
my Jinx
Scissors,
item, you see.
move into AD instead, play around an uncontested 3 cost,
ဟာဒီ
and
ရိုးနေအောင်မှ
have a much
တော့
easier time making use of these duplicators
Oh,
plus the
but
heavy
it-
rolls. Revan style transition where you're transitioning not on
ဟုတ်တယ်
3-5,
သူက
but
သူ
on
ကတ်ကြီး
4-1.
ရှိတယ်သူက
Do
ဘော
we
ကတ်
see
ကြီး
the same result we had from Revan, where he played for that first?
ကတ်ကြီးရှိတယ်ကတ်ကြီးနဲ့ဆိုရင်တော့အိုက်တန်ကဘတ်ဆန်ဆိုရပါတယ်
Playing around getting extra resources.
သူ raw လို့တယ်
Quite
raw
strong
raw
right now. AP being quite strong, and now, hey,
Raw
how
load
can
it.
you play around getting some of these uncontested lines? Warwick unlocked, now able to roll a bit more. We also get some more resources injected.
Could have maybe
Okay.
considered,
Both
I guess
transition.
not on 29 HP, going for the 20 rolls instead just sells out of X
Man,
cashes out.
man,
And this is the turn where the AP
Man,
check comes
man,
in.
it's all
Setsuko
man,
usually a fast 9 player. That's where his APM is checked, but now as a reroll player, he has to stabilize this board. He has to use up as much of his gold as
Okay.
possible before the round starts.
We're looking for Braum specifically to round out this board. We're able to get a bunch of upgrades. We weren't able to. We did get
Just barely.
the scissors off
It's
there.
hard to have the
No,
mental note of where the scissors are and what they look like.
Yeah.
Do that so quickly.
မိရမိတယ်
Slamming great items here. Going to get our tank
Me- me
online
right,
as
me
well.
right. Setsuko me right.
Setsuko's got to be happy this
ဆက်
transition.
စု
And
က
also
တာ
the
မြင်
Warwick
သူက
right on
ဖီ
the
လီယိုမ
back
တွေ့ရ
line.
အောင်အ
If
မြင်
I
နောက်
can
တစ်လို့
take
ယူ
down
စရာကို
Abyss
ကောက်တယ်ပဲ
LeBlanc himself and give him at
Nah,
least a
nah,
lot more
nah,
HP to
nah.
work with. We're not going to be able to kill this thing. He might even win the fight.
Slams the
Item
hot
ဖြုတ်တာ
temperature
နေရာ
forces
နေရာ
alive
ချတာ
and
ဆောင်း
Braum
မြင်
fighting against Darius. So
That's crazy.
Setsuko able to survive that one pivotal turn he needed to. Now he has a little bit more time to continue the roll down to stabilize. He can maybe even hit the Jinx 3 early with the duplicators as well. So for now, mission accomplished.
Problem is, he has at least 2 less duplicators, not
It's a
too
brilliant
close to our upgrade.
It's a brilliant
We want
call to do
gold
it.
to finish off the game as well. So
brilliant.
more power coming through.
စပလင်ကိုစာယူမှာမဟုတ်
6 bruiser online for
အ
ready.
ဒီဘဲကအဒီဘဲကပါဆုံးပါ
Gifting
ဟို
competition
Rise နဲ့
as quick as possible
နဲ့
in this late game.
ဆုံးပါပိုလီဘဲနဲ့ပိုလီဘဲ Rise ပိုလီဘဲ
Wow, 3
ပို့
people picked.
ဒါပေမဲ့သူ့မှာအဒဗန်စီယာကောင်းနေမရှိဘူးအဲ့လိုလို့
Gilded steel.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like the hold the line of the prismatic the prismatic version, but
ဒီဘဲလည်း first
Feels
man
very
RT
fun.
first man ဒီစက first man
And Dasic not quite rerolling, just trying to play around this Noxus as a tempo.
Jin
line,
3 wide.
pushing down to level
I hope
8.
that
Most
Jin 3
players are
wide.
pushing to
That's
8
the
here and trying to stabilize. These next few fights will be very important to
Ule
what
için-
realistically
içine kalma bro.
players will have. Those who can win these fights, they can push to level 9, they can play for the high cap. For the
ဟုတ်
greed.
တာဦးလေးက
The
ဒီ
rest
တော့
of them will have
ဒီ
to
တော့
be
ရွာပဲ
patient.
ကျွန်တော်မတွေ့ရ
We
ဟာဒီ
spawned
တော့ရွာ
Jinx
နှစ်ယောက်ပဲ
three.
ဟာ
Here we use the
Ule iyo
duplicators.
Setsuko
We
ba.
have 0 gold left. No Warwick
ဦး
to
ဦးလေးရဲ့ fan ဖတ်တွေ
a
တင်မှာ
little
ပ
bit
လီယာရဲ့
difficult
စာ
for
လေး
the
ရေးရမ
secondary
လား
carry,
fan ဖတ်တို့ပါ
and
ရေး
we
မ
will
လား
continue to get
ဦး
better
လေးက
and better
ကျွန်
items
တော်
as
ငါလည်းဒီ game ဆော့လာတယ်မောတော့
Stabilizing
ဟို
now is
မုတ်စိတ်မထွက်ခင်
exactly
နေ
what
ရ
the
တယ်
doctor ordered for Setsuko, because we're also playing around
သူ့ဖန်ဘက်က
Spain.
သူ့ဖန်ဘက်ကမောတော့မုတ်စိတ်မထွက်ခင်နေဆော့ရ
Be back in our fights, but I don't think we want to play around one life in this lobby.
And look at the augments other
Hey,
players.
well,
do
that
as
day, though,
well. I think
they
Setsuko
did.
understands with 29 HP that he has to win some or most of the fights in stage
သူ့
4
ဖန်ဘက်
to
ကို
have a
သူ့
good
ဖန်ဘက်ကို
result
ပတ်
in
လိုက်
this
တာ
game. He
မော
cannot
တော့
lose another fight and be at the mercy of facing one of these Grim Reaper players who go fast 9 and can beat him out
သူ့
in
မ
stage
ပြ
5.
အောက်ကလူ
so
တွေကို
much
တော့ပြန်
explosive growth.
Very, very true. Koyui is playing a composition we haven't seen do too well so far in our tournament. This is vertical version of Void, but not towards Baron. We don't have the opportunity to go 10 and play around that, so we're just going to play around Kaisa. This is something that was quite good in the middle of the set. And now bringing it here to the Tactician's crown stage.
If you can hit Baron
ပြသွားတယ်
somehow,
ကျွန်တော်ရပါတယ်
somehow, that would be great, but
3 gold, level 8 on 4th.
ဟို Twitch မှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်ကျွန်တော်ကြည့်ကြည့်ရုံနေရတာ
trust.
Twitch မှာ
He-
ဆို
I
ကျွန်
will
တော်
trust
Twitch
you
မှာ
on many things, Necro. This is not one of them. Unfortunately, the math is not mathing for
Twitch
me.
အဲ့မော Twitch ကြောင်း
This
လိုက်
is
လို့
one
ရှိ
of
ရင်
those
အဲ့ Twitch မှာ drop
multiplayer
down လုပ်ရ
places. You know your cap is low. You know you're just trying to win some of these fights against
YouTube မှာ
the
ကျတော့ drop
players
မ
that are trying to
ပေး
go past 9. Like Ready. Ready has already gone 9. Didn't have that much gold to roll with. Still holding 30 gold now. Trying to go for one big roll down in his last life. So favorable matchup for Koyui here. If he can win one or two more of these fights on stage 4.
ဟုတ်မဟုတ်အရင်
I think
ကျွန်တော်အရင် Twitch မှာတက်ကြည့်လိုက်တယ် Twitch မှာကြည့်ပြီးတော့ draw လိုက်တယ်ယူပြီးတော့ဒီမှာကို
to
ကို
go,
တင်
and
ကိုပြန်
so
ကြည့်လို
he's
က်
got a lot to roll, and he's got great AP items as well as trying to set up the secondary carry in the Volley Bear that is unlocked also.
ဟော Ionia ကို RE1 စတာနဲ့ pass ဟို
Yeah,
level
we have
တင်
to go
သွား
to
တယ်
his board now because he didn't roll yet because he was just gone to 9. Has to
အော်သူ
unlock
လည်း
the
ဟိုဟာ
first,
ဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်
and
နော်
now
bro
he
ဟို
has
ပါ
a
လေ
chance to roll the 30
ဟို
gold.
ခရုံးပြုတ်သွား
He's
နိုင်
on
တယ်
one life.
Promise မှာ level 9
We
ရောက်
saw comparing to Wasion's
သူ
game
ဟိုဟာဟို
last,
တိုင်းအကယ်၍သာပါလေ
game
ဓမ္မ
7
စီရိုက်
we
ဟို
saw
တိုင်းခရုံးပြုတ်သွားတယ်
tournament, he was on 9 on PvE, but he
အဲ့တော့သူ့မှာ
had
can ရှိရဗျာကို
so
ပူကိုထုတ်လိုက်ဗျာ
a much
ကိုပူ
more
ကိုထုတ်လိုက်
dire
ဗျာ
position for
ပြီးရင်
Ready.
ဟိုဂါလီထုတ်လိုက်တာရ
If
ပါ
he
တ
can
ယ်
hit Rise 2, that will be
ကို
enough
ပူ
to
ကို
take
နဲ့
over
ဂါလီ
stage
ပဲတူပဲ
4, that's for sure.
ဟုတ်တာဗောဟုတ်ပါဘူးဒါ ready ပဲပဲ
Volley 2, obviously a great upgrade as
Yeah,
well.
Volley 2.
Here it is online, and we will be able to
bro
refresh our
ကရုံး
items.
ကရုံး okay
Maybe get a Titans or maybe one of the other great Volley Bear items.
ဓမ္မစီရမ
Volley
ပိုင်
actually
ဒီ
has
ဘက်ကမ
pretty
ကျ
good
န်းသေးတယ်
scaling, so he will do quite well with these items.
Okay.
ဓမ္မစီ
It's not enough.
ဓမ္မစီရပုတ်ကပူ
Want
ကျ
the
န်းတယ်
Sterak at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm,
So
but there's
Deborah-
just like there's just not enough gold. Ready's gonna have to hope that the
One more
volley 2
separate
is
visit.
fine.
Well, here's a good matchup for you. Mori played around forward thinking, got a bunch of that gold back, but really didn't hit too much on a roll down here. I think we're trying to play around Lissandra, but I don't see a single one.
I guess you have the Zillion. Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
That was a world record fight.
Rise
That was so
great.
fast.
The HP scaling on volley on his jump is actually pretty explosive in terms of how much damage he can do. Ready, reminder, yesterday is one of those players who played extol.
ကောနော်
who
reroll
likes
ဆောင်
playing
လို့
into
နဲ့
this
ပိတ်ပြီး
high
တော့တင်မှာ
risk.
first line ကောက်
He's
ကို
an underdog coming into this tournament. He told me he does
Don't
not feel
break
the
any, yeah.
pressure
They
or
are.
expectations. He said, just being here is already great news for me in my career. So this is the kind of player who's more open to taking these big risks to try and find success.
Oh la la. Ryko.
I mean, this spot.
မောအဲ့ပဲ
Eagles
အဲ့ပဲ
were
အ
able
ယူ
to
လေး
get a lot
ချော့
of
ပြီးတော့
extra
နိုင်တာ
resources.
အရှိမ
Playing
အောင်
around
EME
Spirit
တိုင်း
Link,
ဝေးမှာ
able
I
to
don't- I don't
get
even
a lot of
do
combat
really.
power in fights.
really
He
sure.
could possibly have another life to work with.
ယူရတာဆိုလိုက်
But
ပဲ
it's going to be very, very hard to make it back where he's not close to any of these 3 stars either.
I don't want to see Vagar ever again.
မောမောအဲ့ပဲယူလဲပဲဆိုတာပြီးရင် level 9တွားပြီးတော့သူစင်းနေဆိုရပဲ
The Noxus
Nema
mirror
Resort.
matchup here between AQ1H and Dasik. Both have the Mel unlocked. Both still on the Mel 1. So using that Seraphine and the LeBlanc as the duo carries here.
အားကြီးက level 9ကနေ level ဟို level 8ကနေ9မသွားရင်
Each other
တော့
with
level
the testing.
8မှာပဲဆုံး
They
နေရ
knew that these copies were going to be incredibly hard to find, but for AQ&H, the items are just better. The Darkened Staff does so much damage on this board, as well as this Mel. If it can continue to cast more and more, possibly gets that Radiant item online. It is Ready versus Ryko.
မိ
The
လက်တောင်း
Volley
မှာ
Bear
မတောင်းနေ
trying
တော့
to take down the Fizz and will do so. Ryko,
Ah,
though,
but they
he's
don't
just a
build it.
Spirit Link loss.
တရားအောင်ပြောသေးတယ်
Max value.
Yes.
Right. I believe it when I see it.
Wonder if he pivots off some of these Yordles here.
I feel like you have to, because there's just a certain point where even though
level 9
the
ရောက်သွားပြီ
grab bag is
အဲ
nice,
ဇစ်ဆော့ရမှာသူ
you pass by.
သူနှစ်ကောင်ဖြုတ်ကလိမ့်မယ်
Well, okay, he picked up the
Don't
Annie,
knock on
but I was
Phil
like,
down.
I'm really worried about you
Phil
because you
has
didn't
a
pick up
Phil
the
has a-
Annie when we were on your board. So are you actually going to
Phil
make a pivot now? I feel like yes, you kind of just like start getting ready because the roll down is going to be huge.
ဟိုဒီဘက်ဒီဘက်ဆရာကြီး
And
သူက
the
ယူရ
green
ဆရာ
is
ကြီး
the
သူ
big
လုပ်ပြတယ်
thing for Ryko here. He has to find the Annie 2. Ideally, it would be a lot of fun as well, but Tibbers.
Mà lúc
too,
dài
he
này
has
lên
to
đầu
also
từ từ
reward
chị
this
ạ.
TF sword into something
Tôi
a little bit
lý
better.
đấy.
Try and
Lý
find
tao
the
là gì?
secondary carry with the Annie. If he can hit Annie 2 here and Shyvana, maybe Shyvana 2, that's too much to ask. It would be great.
ရှပါလား
But I think he's a little bit too far away, too little to work with. There's an Annie
Annie?
pair though. Maybe I spoke too
Annie?
soon.
Okay, we do have a lot of these.
Any
uh,
dudes are not
direct
fine,
unlocks.
right?
Any dudes are
we
not
gotta
fine.
try and get one of these 5 costs online ASAP.
ရှပါလားတူ
Continuing
အန်
to
ဒီတူ
roll.
ဘာတူညာတူ
We're paired of all the important
တ
units.
ခုခု
Here's
ရှပါလား
Shyvana
တူ
too.
ရတယ်တာကွန်ရောင်း
Is it enough though? That's the big question.
ဒီကောင်ယူတယ်ဒီထုတ်လိုက်တယ်
Oh,
He didn't reforge the sword yet either. Has to go for it now.
Maybe we're just playing around Shyvana items. Instead, we're going to put an item straight onto this Annie instead of also moving to the Vigar
Đúng rồi.
items.
And
Trên
facing
nhà
Robin,
phòng.
who has not rolled yet, so this is maybe
Chả
one
bao
of the
nhiêu
best
đúng đi
matchups
nè,
that
rồi,
Ryko's
này
been
bảo.
hoping
Robin
for.
xong
The
rồi,
Ascension
sẵn
will
nhà
get in
rồi,
at some
đã
point.
này
The
bảo
Annie
rồi.
still has not cast now, finally does. I think this should be enough to win against a player who has not hit his next big power spike yet.
Man, Robin's going that fast 9 version of Ionia that is really powerful. Can possibly
Does
win
it go?
games if
Hello?
you get all those 5 costs upgraded.
Tigan, yeah,
alongside Set. Speaking
Does
of
it go?
Set,
Cái đó mà này.
Setsuko taking a
Cái đó
big
mà
loss,
này.
and now moving back down to possibly even 1 life left, but no one has fallen out here even at 5-2.
We talked about it for sets ago, right? With so many econ augments and just the game plan he had set up, he is going to have a hard time winning most of the stage 5 fights. He had to win those fights earlier. Despite that, I think he's maybe only really playing for
D lobby
a
close
position, especially when someone like Reddy has
နိုင်
turned
ရ
the
တဲ့တယောက်
corner.
ထွက်ကောင်း
Reddy
တယ်
was a player who everyone was counting on being eliminated and kind of messing up his transition, but he's done quite
ဒီ
well.
ready ဆိုတဲ့
to
ဘဲ
make it
က
onto this rise
သူ
board.
ကလုံးစရာမရှိတော့သူ ground 2ပဲရှာမှာ
We'll see Reddy
အဲ့တော့သူ
versus
မဲတူနဲ့တွေ့ရယ်မဲတူနိုင်မှာ
on the other side.
That's
Who now is
a Mel
Mel 2, and so it's going to be so incredibly hard.
မဲ
to
တူ
take
ဆိုရင်
that
သူက
down
ဟိုမရှိဘူး
where
ပြတက်နေမရှိ
Kobe has a much
Front
better
line
fight
မရှိ
versus Robin on the
မဲ
other
ပဲ
side,
တူ
who
တာ
did roll it down though. All that gold has been spent, and we're wrapping onto the
ကျဲ
back
ဘန်
line.
မသိ
The
ပါဘူး
Bolivar cast and gets onto LeBlanc, and he does. Mel might get killed before she gets her second cast off.
Oh, and it's Tactician
Oh
so fast
my
on the back line, and it
God.
does do it. And
Koyu
Robin
was
also
there,
takes down Koyui.
The Volibear so clutch. The HP is getting from the Morok, but also just the extra HP you have on the
So
unit
do
to
I
survive
save
the
her?
chip damage coming in from the LeBlanc.
Also, Setsuko started off
Oh, who
in
will
our
they
top
have?
8, was looking
Right
great.
goal, right goal,
He
they
was
have.
7-7 to start the day.
This is
Any
maybe
do
the
it.
problem
Bro,
with
any
going
two
for
ne
this
Vega
James
do
Bond
Saturday
4-1
man
instead of
with the
3-5. Those extra 2 losses and the extra HP loss meant you can't fight for that 5th or 6th instead of 7
Vega
or
do
8.
go.
So really not
Vega do a
ideal for
study
Setsuko here.
သူအများကြီးစုတာ
82 for
Made it.
Marco. This is the destination he was searching for, able to stabilize on 4 HP. Playing around this play style is so incredibly risky. It's going to be all matchup dependent now, and it will be versus
But you gotta
Mori
hear.
and Rise 2.
I don't know if I like this matchup for Raiko. I think this Rise being upgraded means some disaster for this back line.
Neither
They're
Sway got a
already
cast.
so much damage.
And the Vagar, I think, is scaled, but has he scaled enough? The Tibbers and Shavon hanging on for so long.
ကရုံး
but
ထိုး
it's
နေ
just
ကရုံးထိုးနေ
the Vagar by himself. The Rise is still healthy. I think it's just too much to handle.
ကရုံးထိုးနေ
Raiko turned the corner, but not quite enough. Facing one of the stronger players in the lobby now on 5-3.
မရအောင်မရ bro အဲ့ကရုံးပုတ်ကတားကျန်တယ်အဲ့ကရုံးဂျမာစီက
Will be the Rise
အကုန်လုံးအကုန်လုံးနိုင်တယ်ကရုံး
able to
ပုတ်
take the win, push him into top 5 and not eliminate here. These last item choices to help round out the board are so important for many of our players to round out their tanks, their secondary damage dealers. I'm thinking about AQ1H specifically, who doesn't have a 3rd item on that Mel.
You can also see Reddy use one for the Thunder 2, just to give an extra boost of damage to try to burst down those tanks.
ဗီဒီယိုတွေကကိုက3កောင်လို့ဝင်တကောင်အစိုးရရင်မကောင်းသိလား
Shout out to Robin. Very
တပြိုင်တည်း3កောင်ရတာ
has,
ပိုကောင်းတယ်
snuck his way into the
တကောင်နဲ့ဆိုရရင်ဟိုကောင်ပဲ rule အောင်မလား level ပဲတင်ရမလား
I think Ione as a whole
ဒီကောင်လေးပဲပြန်ရှာရမလား
0% win rate on this exact variant coming to stage 5, especially stage 6. And every other board that is left looks incredibly strong. 2 Mel Flex players who have hit the Mel 2 as well, or just basic actually. AQ1H still waiting for that one. The Rise pair as well for Reddy. If he hits that, he becomes incredibly strong. So Robin is just scavenging placements as usual. That's his style, but this time not on the reroll, instead on that fast 9 board.
Reddy reforging items, snipping them apart, and making some of the best pairs of items we can have to make this board stronger. Where Robin on the other side is, you know, pretty strong, but not
Robin's
as
on a
strong
Davey.
as what
Grow
Reddy's
like
board
that.
should be with all these 5
Robin's
cost
out.
upgrades. The set is going to be a huge damage dealer if it's able to do sit-ups first. It is not targeted early enough, and this Volibear is so incredibly dangerous.
Robin's
But the Yoni's
grow
on
like
to
that.
the Rise in the back line. The Ari now against the world.
It's just too much. This Volibear has been insane, and this set can't stand tall enough. So Robinson is going to take a bit of a hit, and we are getting closer to determining the top 4, but it still feels like we're so far away with how much these boards are spiking.
And the big difference here is 2 Mel Flex players, 2 Rise players. Each of them, or one of
These
each
are
of those pairs
akin
has
to-
the Mel 2 and the Rise 2 upgrade. The other doesn't. So right now, Mori and Dasik, they have their carries upgraded. They're winning these rounds. The moment Reddy or AQ1H are able to find their upgrades as well, it's going to be very close to see who has that stronger final setup as we get into stage 6. And Robin just caught in the middle, just trying to say, maybe I can just win one of these fights at the very least and land in the top 4.
Well, he's a Silas,
ကဲကရုံးနဲ့တွေ့
so
ပြီ
he could
Jason
also
and
maybe
Corona,
find
Bowie.
an uncontested
တေး
upgrade.
စစ်နိုင်မှာ
I
က
think
ရုံး
he's just really hoping that Dasik or somebody else can take down Reddy to push him into the top 4. Dasik's board is incredibly strong with that Azir 2 alongside it. The Melcast coming through does an incredible amount of damage, but the Volibear just does not fall down. Reddy is making an incredible comeback and will not knock out Dasik.
ready
He has a
က ready က
couple
ကိုလုံး
HP
နိုင်
left
က
to
ရုံး
spare.
ကရုံးလုံးချ
And the
ပြီ
Renekton aggro drop made it so that the backline was targeted early for Dasik like, unfortunately, his main tanks, I mean, doesn't really have one, right? It's just the Darius with Eventron that's really it. So that was a problem there for Day6 board. I think he needs a little bit more frontline somehow.
Maybe we get some more items, some more gold, try to finish up these boards. AQ1H can make a massive upgrade with getting the Mel 2 as well as the Senna Lucian 2. We're also taking a look at being able to get that Silas 2 online, ready, the Rise as well. And so hopefully you're going to get some additional gold here that can help you find those. Ready has a pair, you just need to get that final one.
Wukong 2, huge upgrade for the front line. No Rise yet, but still has a few gold left to work with. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to find it this time. The good news for Ready here is that he is fairly comfortable, even if he were to drop out, and specifically Dasik also. But Mori is the one I want to call out, being the player.
Big competitors. We're going to see some of these final showdowns as Ready and AQ1H stand off against each other on the left. And for the right-hand side, Dasik is hoping he can hang on as Mori is coming over to check out the board.
I mean, Mori has that Rise too that is just so powerful on this patch. But Ready, hoping that he can take down AQ1H, who has lost a few rounds in a row.
Connecting edge to the back line, the Mel class is not quite enough. Dasik will be taken down and Ready.
Wait.
The Rise is not able to cast Lissandra
Ready
all by
and
herself.
Ready,
The Seraphine, the final
Ready,
1v1 is lost, and Ready, without the Rise 2, could not do it. Both of the players get eliminated here. 3 players left. Robin still caught in the middle on a 2-win streak.
AG1H got 7 and
day for Robin.
He can hit the Silas, as you mentioned, Necra, yeah. With the Warden emblem as well, and the Ascension kicking in. And the big difference is most of the players in this top 5 all had just an abundance of econ augments, but not really much combat, whereas Robin does at least have the Ascension and Legion of Threes.
I do think playing around this Fast 9 is something that is very skill expressive, especially when you're like in a fairly obvious reroll spot, possibly for this Ahri. Maybe you can just pivot to this, go 9, and we'll see how it pays off in the late game.
Robin really needed these points as well to keep himself feeling safe. But it's going to be a big showdown as Mori is hit level 10, hoping that this extra unit is going to be enough to actually take down this Robin. But the Ascension has hit, and so now you're going to be doing way more damage with this Yone if you can actually weave past this big Freljord unit standing in front of you, and the Braum just is not able to get this damage through. So Robin Songs is going to lose that fight, and AQ1H still on the other side against this Ghost Board is going to lose.
So top 2 for Robin, I think, is definitely cause for celebration, especially with how strong the setups look for all the rest of the Fast 9 AP players in this endgame. Silas now unlocked as well for Mori, so triple econ, this is how you cap your board. You have to go 10, you have to fit as many legendaries as possible.
Also, the points for these players, 30 points and 28 points. The 2 players at the bottom of this lobby, and now they are in top 2 position, putting themselves through to the next round.
Can Robin Songs even win this fight? It was very, very close in the last one, but that Braum just was that indomitable force that this Yone couldn't get past. Now the Silas is actually going to be on the right-hand side. The weak side here is this Aaron will fall shortly.
The Yone has to wrap into that bottom left corner backline if you want to have any hope of winning it. Braum is all up in Ahri's face, and she's almost taken down here as well, so not the fight that Robin was hoping for. It's really just down to the Silas here, but it's just too tanky of a frontline, it seems like, for Mori. A big win for the APAC player. Robin still a respectable top 2 from the spot he was in.
Mori back against the wall.
Big
breakthrough as a part of the set. They re-rolled a lot in regionals and now showing off the prowess. Fast 10, triple econ, that's how you cap out a board.
Fast 10.
Hey, that's what happened there.
I know, it's just like, oh, okay, the new game plan.
Yep.
Reroll a 4 cost or just go level 10, obviously.
And we saw some players like Setsuko that had a wrench thrown into his game plan, doesn't like playing reroll, doesn't like playing for the lower cap boards, but Gold Destiny into hefty rolls kind of had to and tried to solve his position, but not quite able to do it with that Jinx reroll.
And we saw a lot of these different augments, especially because gold augments that were just so popular across this lobby, really helping shape and round out these boards.
This is an intense round. We're going to tally up our scores before we make the first cut for day 2 of the competition here at the Tactician's Crown. But also a moment you have all been waiting for. Please enjoy the dev drop for set 17 Space Gods.
ကြည့်လိုက်တော့ကလာပြီအေးဆိုးကြီးထွက်လာပြီတို့ဒီဆက်ကနေအေးဆိုးကထွက်ပြီးနောက်ဆက်ရဲရောက်သွားတာဗျ
Long before the first comp was built, the space gods have watched and waited for their moment. Choose your gods. Your fate is written in the stars.
Matt, what are you doing? We have
Wait.
pre-tested in 12 minutes.
ဘေးနာဟိုဘက်ကပြောတာ
My bad. That's a story for
ဒီလို
another
ပါဝိုက်တော့လာ
Let's play Space Gods.
That's very sweet for animation နေလာတယ်ဘဲဘဲကြီးပြန်ပါတယ် great ပါတယ်လက်ဘလုံးပါတယ်
Welcome to Space Gods, the set that will send you deep into the cosmos, where mortals, that's you, strike deals with celestial beings. Space Gods is a set designed for flexible play, with a return to our traditional roster size, splashable units, and an emphasis on adapting to game states that are controlled by the gods you align
Evelyn
yourself
ပါတယ်
with. I'm Noemi, the set lead. The team and I are here to tell you all about our supernatural roster of traits and champions, new tacticians, arenas, and more.
the realm of the god okay
Make sure we wait for you to get back to your desk before we start the lobby.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
But what's the point? He's just gonna open for anyways.
Less appreciated. Hey, folks. I'm Philip, lead designer on the set mechanic. In Space Gods, there is no carousel. There is only the realm of the gods. At the start of the game, 2 of our 9 gods will appear, greeting you and letting you know early on just what Space Gods are contending for power. That's important because instead of carousel, you'll be selecting an offering from one of the gods, and a less powerful generic one from Pengu, who's a god in our eyes, to say the least. In the realm of the gods, you'll be able to participate in drama on a galactic scale, choosing which god is your favorite. But I'd recommend choosing based on how helpful their offerings are for your gameplay. Once you've chosen your god and offering, you'll also get their relic, which represents your fealty and follows you around, letting other players know to whom you've made your
ကိုရီ
allegiance.
ရွေးလိုက်တာနဲ့
And regardless of who you picked as
လက်
your
ဆောင်ပေး
favorite,
ဗျာ
we've always got good old Pengu to provide a more generic, yet lower power reward, who will be guaranteed for everyone, regardless of whichever god they choose. The Realm of the Gods allows you to power up the way you want, all while witnessing and partaking in a game of sycophantic favoritism. But what's the point in picking favorites and creating conflict if there's no resolution to our celestial drama? Enter the 4/7 boon
Who's
sword.
ever done it? They're
This
okay
is where
there.
whichever
Why?
god
Oh,
you've
yeah.
been choosing the most will come to
They'll
your
be
board with an
everybody.
armory, similar to the treasure dragon of Dragonlands, except with offerings that are thematically tied to that god's personality. They're boon, in addition to some other, more general rewards. Each of our gods has a unique blessing they'll grant to their followers, whether that's Yasuo's, which further upgrades his hexes, or Aurelian Soul's, whose boon offers you a selection of quests with powerful rewards.
1 unit level 10နဲ့
And
1
even
plus
after
all
you pick
9
your
unit
boon,
trade
your
1000
faith will be continually rewarded, with your favorite god returning to their devout followers' boards to provide loot on
Ramu's a full
occasion
call,
for
yeah.
the remainder of the game. So many teams came together to make this mechanic possible, so let's get more dev in this drop and invite Isaac, our set art lead, to tell us some more.
When we heard about the Realm of the Gods, our gears immediately began turning. What would the gods look like? How many should there be? What should their personalities be like?
And how could we pair all of Art's ideas with the design of the mechanic in a way that feels exciting for players?
Exactly. Art took the lead here in deciding which champions would be our gods. We knew we didn't want a lot of overlap with the set's units, and we wanted to use champions that have a distinct lane of personality and cosmic power. One of the first gods the art team landed on is Soraka. Her illustration is just gorgeous and convinced a lot of the team that this was a great direction to move in.
I was certainly convinced. And once we had her look and personality in front of us, the design team got to work on benevolent offerings. For Soraka, that meant HP, both for your units and your tactician.
Yasuo was another one we decided on pretty early. He's dark, brooding, and all edge.
With that attitude, Yasuo became all about skillful positioning, offering hexes that empower the unit on them in spacey ways, with stats, utility, and more.
We couldn't just have one edgy god with Yasuo, we also had to have Evelyn.
I love Eve because she represents such a powerful player experience.
Being lured in by risky power?
Yup. Eve offers powerful rewards that may or may not match your board, like completely random emblems.
But Art didn't
Evelyn
just work
Evita.
on creating gods for our mechanic, they also created life. with a summon that is bespoke and newly evergreen to TFT, similar to how Koboko was during the Inkborn Fables. Bia, the baby, and Bayan, the mom, are TFT summons that'll be debuting with our Shepherd trait. Summon just Bia to your board at the first breakpoint, then call upon Mama to join, and power up together at the final breakpoint, if you can get your hands on a Shepherd Emblem.
Pray to Evelyn.
Trade attempt. Okay, trade champion.
With Space Gods, we set out to space with a dynamic, fun, and celestial roster, distributed across the universe, but also a trait web that took what we loved and learned from the flexibility and excitement of past sets. So why don't we start out with a trait that almost all our Space Gods love, Space Groove. With their Starlight Boogie, Groovians can enter the groove, gaining attack speed and health regen. But each unit has its own special way to get their groove on. One-cost Teemo enters the groove whenever he puts enough Shroom Boom poison on an enemy champion that he'll need to attack and stack fast. 4-cost Nami tosses Disco Bubbles at her targets, briefly entering the groove on cast. And then there's Space Groove's legendary unit, Blitzcrank, and their pit crew of puppers. Once Blitz falls below a certain health threshold, they'll take a beat to repair. After a top-off of oil and Bork bites, they'll re-enter the fight and the groove as they passively fire off zaps and create tragic mishaps, uppercutting their target into the moon. Wait, that's no moon. That's a space disco ball. Opposite to the disco glow is the light-consuming black hole that the Darkstar trait creates. As you feed your black hole enemies, it will empower your units. If you're a fan of finger guns, well, you're in luck, because Jin is taking those literally and cosmically. Almost godlike with his ability, Jin's the high spectacle legendary unit of Darkstar, whose galactic finale looks kinda like this.
What the fuck?
And exploring those stars, dark, supergiants, dwarves, and the likes, is our lighthearted Meeple trait. Meeple brings a whole lot of units and a whole lot of meeps, which will strengthen your abilities. Field more Meeples, acquire more meeps. Simple as that. The 5-cost for Meeple, Bard, summons a UFO, which stands for Ultra Friendly Object, that'll deal magic damage per second. Deal enough damage, and you might even beam up an enemy unit. Alright, Major Tom, let's get to a high-stakes trait that's certain to leave ground control and chaos. Anima gathers tech after each combat, more on kills, and even more the higher your loss streak. You can cash out your tech for Anima Squad weapons to use on any unit. Weapons like Battle Gun and Crossbow, which will fire a cone of arrows at enemies if you can get enough crits off. Or the Yumi Bot, which heals the wearer and attaches to nearby friends upon the holder's death. Anything for chin scratches, I suppose. While they're good on anyone, these weapons, and Cat, often have specific users that they're the best on, like Rocket Swarm on Jinx. And even if you deactivate Anima, your items will stick around. Anima's not the only trait using tech that you'll encounter in Space Gods. The Mecha trait will transform Urgot, Aurelion Soul, and Galio into their ultimate mecha forms, granting them stats and enhanced abilities. Once they're mech'd, they'll take up 2 slots and count twice for the Mecha's trait. And unlike our Space Gods, our time is short. So before it runs out, I've got to mention our splashable resource generation trait, Timebreaker. Activate it just 2 Timebreaker, and the trait will give you rerolls when you lose, and XP stored in a temporal core when you win. Once you activate 3 Timebreaker, in addition to its earlier effects, all your allies will gain bonus attack speed. Timebreaker takes learnings from the flex play we love so much in Lore and Legends. Splash just 2 in early to fuel your econ, or use the 3-piece as the backbone to any 1 or 2-cost reroll line. As you familiarize yourself with the set, you'll notice many 2-piece classes and other origins with breakpoints for each additional unit you add. I've covered just a few of our major origins, but in Space Gods, you'll also be able to overwhelm your enemies with baby swarmlings via Primordian, chart constellations of empowered hexes with Stargazer, and deal powerful signature attacks with Nova. And moving past traits, we've also got a few threat-like units that you can utilize into many end or mid-game boards. Graves, for one, is a build-your-own unit, allowing you to constantly purchase upgrades, unlocking tech trees for customization in the process. And Sona creates commands that buff her allies by telling them what to do and how to do it. Gun Goddess Misfortune will let you choose between 3 unique traits, similar to KO Coliseum's Lee Sin, but as a 3-cost. Misfortune isn't the only low-cost threat-like unit. We've also got utility tanks like Rost and Tahm Kench at 3 and 4 gold respectively to pad out the front line for any comp flexing on the fly. 2 more trait-agnostic 5-cost to end things with, Vex and Shen. Vex is an attack speed-focused hypercarry that'll slap your foes around without a shadow of a doubt, but with shadow, no doubt. While Shen is a bastion who will tear through reality by opening a rift, slowing enemies and accelerating allies' attacks. Alright, I've got a playtest to win. Now, over to Valentine to talk illustration.
Fading goal.
So we had a very specific style in mind for the Space Gods that shows off a more traditional style of painting than we've typically seen on TFT. There's no perfect blending, but we obsessed over things like brushstrokes and texture, and hopefully as we look closer at these, you'll notice those little details too. The lack of perfect blending is sort of a reflection of our gods too. They're iconic, larger-than-life characters, none of whom are perfect, but I mean, we kind of love them for that, right? When we were looking at a champion for the God of Time, most of the team immediately thought of Zilean because he's old, he's godlike, he's got a big clock on his back. But using Zilean as our time god would have just been using Zilean. And for our Space God roster, we wanted to elevate existing characters into hyperbolic but flawed godhood. Let me show you what I mean with Echo, the God of Time. Echo's a tricky character because we already know him from so many different places. Arcane, true damage, and he's my favorite air-hopping, time-winding champion in 2x KO. So bringing the kid into godliness meant lowering the volume on his emotions in trade of a more stoic, somber, and experienced version of our boy genius. No longer a boy, but still begrudgingly a genius. The way Echo's powers manifest in League is with an after image, allowing him to chrono break back in time. But our god version of him has versions that aren't just backwards in time, but also forward. We've got Kid Echo in the back trying to grasp the hourglass that present Echo has control over, while the one in the foreground is an older version of Echo. Then it was adding time motifs to show Echo more as time itself, Roman numerals on the clock behind him creating a halo effect, and circular shapes throughout that are all indicative of time. Meanwhile, the golden markings on his skin elevate Echo to make him feel almost ethereal, while also being natural to himself in his color and style. As you play, we hope that you have time to pick up on the little things like this that make each god unique. Thanks for stopping by. Now I'll beam you over to our other team of artists in Singapore.
Hi everyone, I'm João, representing the Singapore team that works on all the cosmetic content you see in TFT. Before we blast off with Space Gods, I wanted to highlight one very special Unbound, entering the Convergence for the final patch of Lore and Legends. You've heard of Spin to Win, but with Pengu Garen Unbound, let me introduce you to Spin to Win. Alright, back to our release patch of Space Gods. We've got 2 Unbounds coming for you at the start of the set, starting with the Bringer of Ruin and Darkness. Darkstar Mordekaiser Unbound will unmake the universe. And your lobby if you're lucky, especially with an all-new dual form boon. After reaching level 7, this boon will unleash a full-screen Mordekaiser ult on your enemies. Then there's Chosen of the Wolf Katarina Unbound, whose look and blades are truly lethal. Watch out for those daggers, they look sharp. Too late. On the cuter end of the spectrum, we've got our Chibis, of course. Chibi Star Guardian Syndra Spheres will pile on with the damage. And on the eviler side of things, we've got Prestige Star Nemesis Morgana. Pair her with an arena fit for an evil queen. First Star's Lament. Finally, before I fly off, we've got Chibi Battle Bat Zaya making her mark on the Convergence. The only thing missing is yelling, "Feathers fly," as your finisher rips through the lobby. We have a lot more on the way throughout the set, so stay tuned. Enjoy Space Gods with patch 17.1. Till next time.
Hello and welcome back to the Tactician's Crown here. My name is Mix and I'm joined by one of the set designers here, Matt Dunn, for the new set Space Gods. And honestly, we're all so excited. And I feel like the art in particular is something that's really new for TFT and it's gorgeous. So what was that process like for you guys to find it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for sure I would like to shout out our art and narrative teams. Did an incredible job to put in so much work into fleshing out our pantheon of gods when it comes to like what their appearance is going to be, what their personalities will be like, and of course the realm in which they reside. It all came together to make something really special, and we're really looking forward for all of you to get a chance to experience that as you play set 17.
Honestly, I got a little bit of a taste already in the playtest, and I was so giddy to see my girl Soraka in the God list. Can you share with us, everybody that's watching, what is your favorite God and maybe why?
Sure, absolutely. It's very hard to pick one. I think I'm going to have to go with Thresh for a couple of reasons.
All right.
Thresh is the god of packs, and Thresh's boons come with a little bit of risk to them in that you don't always know what you're going to get. For example, Thresh can actually give you boons from the other god's pool, along with a little bit of extra gold on top. But it will be a random one. You don't know what you're getting until he gives it to you. And I like Thresh for a couple of reasons. One is that sometimes it's fun to just spin the wheel and see what you get. You know, a little surprise is exciting. But the other reason is that it can create this really interesting moment where, you know, sometimes you find yourself behind enough in a game that your only chance to get back is to really get lucky.
All right.
And like when you find yourself in that moment and you're like, I know it's risky, but I think I need to turn to Thresh. And maybe the old god of packs will dig me out of this one. That moment of desperation is really cool to be able to capture with these gods.
All right. Well, there you have it. If you're ever in a pinch, maybe Thresh will save you. I do want to ask about one more thing, that there was some rumors during the playtest of an elusive champion 5 cost that can be found under very specific conditions. Can you tell us more about Zed?
Okay, yes, All Invader Zed. So Zed is a very special 5 cost in this set, in that he does not start off in the normal pool of champions. Now, I know we've been very clear. Our current set 16 Lord Legends, has the wonderful unlock mechanic, but that is the set mechanic for this set. We are not looking to bring that back for 17 or 18. However, we do have this one augment, Invader Zed, which does give you the opportunity to play with familiar Zed from the past. Specifically, we're looking at Zed as he existed in set 2. Now, when you get this augment, you set yourself up to receive a copy of him in stage 4, but on top of that, it will then allow Zed to appear in your shop. So you can actually star up and play around this all-new unit that was unlocked through this augment.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to maybe find Zed in my own games once Space God actually launches. But before we go there, we do have a show match tomorrow, starting at 3:15 a.m. PT. And Matt, you will join us there, share more thoughts about the set, the designs, the mechanics, while we watch our amazing players take a chance on the new set Space Gods here live at the Tactician's Crown. So make sure you tune in for that. We're really excited. Thank you for taking the time to share some more teasers on what players might be seeing in the new set Space Gods. We're going to go to a very quick break, and then we will be back with the action here at the Tactician's Crown for Lore and Legends.
Demi grandma 上来照你们，Demi 系列有。ပြောတာမာဒရာတော့မရဘူးပြောရလို့ပြောရလို့မာဒရာတော့မရဘူးဟိုကျပြီးလွယ်တဲ့ပြင်တက်ခဲ့ဘာမှမရောက်ပါဘူးလားတော့နေရပို့လို့နောက်တော့ပြောဖို့ကောင်းလို့ပါပဲအဲ့လိုကြီးလေမကန်နစ်က broken ဖြစ်နေပါတယ်ကိုယ်ရွေးရမယ်ကိုကကိုယ်အောင်လည်းကိုရွေးမယ်ဗျာကိုယ်အောင်လည်းကိုဆော့မယ်ဆိုတော့မတာတကူလောက်လိုက်ပြီးဆော့လိုက်
The human body was built to move, not trapped at a desk in one singular posture for 12 hours a day. It's time your chair evolved. This is Secret Lab Titan Evo. Ergonomically engineered for you, gamers.
richer. The top 5 players in our standings have continued to win games, and none of them have earned less than 10 points. So really opening up the field to those top 4. Humble comps for them has been doing super strong. But on the bottom side, AQ1H, Weijin Iverson, Robin Songs, all making strong surges to get back.
Well, let's take a look at our standings right now, right here. Those are the players that are eliminated,
Nope.
I believe.
These are
that's
safe.
Over cutoff. Okay, we're placed 24 and up. So these are safe. Milo kind of just squeezing in there with YBY1 on the low 30s, and then there is a little bit of a jump to Travis.
And it's looking like 32 points is exactly where that cutoff will be. And a big tiebreaker as we now take a look at the next screen where we see our eliminated players. 3 people losing that 32-point tiebreaker. Li Tu-chuan, one of the players we looked at the beginning of this as one of the favorites coming in.
CN definitely hit the hardest here. 2 of their generational new talents in Koyui and CSFX going out in this round as well. It is a really, really tough day for those fans in Guangzhou.
Right? Such a shocker, Juanmi. We were talking about how much of a hero he is, how much of a chance he has after winning the Open. Those dreams crushed, hopes shattered. But other regions still have a lot to hope for. You already mentioned it, EMEA. I think APAC also making big moves towards the end of yesterday and this morning.
Yeah, Mori and AQ1H specifically have came back quite strong, and they're sticking to their guns. They're not saying we're going to join the re-roll Gamba mentality. They're actually continuing to hold on to those Fast 9 lines. One particular player I do want to mention is Saye. This is the first player on the top left, and he has been known as a scrim beast with a lot of hero augments being picked up.
That's right. Just in the last round, we were watching over there. He actually picked up Zaheen as hero augment and played around it with a really, really good finish there. So very interesting player to watch, has impressed me tremendously throughout the last couple of games.
And I think we keep drawing the attention back to one of the main characters being Weijin Iverson, who has made a good comeback. He's gotten 10 points through the first couple games. It is pretty solid. It's put him in a little bit more of a comfortable position to possibly continue his run on here. And it's not a position that he's unfamiliar with. In the second TPC that he won, which is a crazy statement to even say, he actually even stopped stream, walked away. People told him, hey, you didn't get cut after the first 2 games of day 2. You need to get back here. Don't go play basketball. Instead, come play TFT. And guess what? We all know how that ended. He ended up winning again. So back against the wall, Weijin can perform.
I'm glad he came around to play.
Sure can.
I also want to shout out Obo. Sorry, I keep harping on this, Clement, but I feel like Obo has defied a lot of the expectations. There was a lot of talk from other players saying, yes, he made like 13, 14 plays back in Reckoning. That's so long ago. He hasn't really had these breakout performances, but I feel like he was a player that was under the cusp just again and again. He's been in so many of the OS finals before the APAC region was created, and even after, he again and again was able to break into those finals.
Did have a lot of fans in the home crowd there as well. He actually studied middle school in China, was classmates with Honglian. And they were able to showcase that in the arena, so some nice connections there.
Well, we are jumping into our round 9 of the Tactician's Crown for Lore and Legends. It will be the Howling Abyss, meaning we'll get 5 of these 1-cost champions on our board, providing some gold, providing some flexibility. This is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, whenever I see this encounter, I'm just like, Yordle time! Because it is kind of easier to get those 4 Yordle tempo playlines going in. And let's see if Obo fancies this. He is typically an Ionia Yone player, really big on the melee carries, but potentially the start here for it.
Yeah, we have a Teemo, we have a Tristana, but we also have a Shen and a Yasuo as well as a Jhin, so Ionia just looking mighty fine for Obo once again. We have Path of Blades as our Ionia in this game, so something you can think about playing around on. Not the, you know, spirits where you're like, yes, I'll definitely reroll, but still.
I do want to call that Setsuko did get one of the best 2-drops possible from this. He does have a Scion on his board already, so Noxus being maybe popular across the lobby. Oh, okay.
But a Jinx and a Sejuani nonetheless gives you very, very strong direction for Weijin here. We have been talking about how you can play her with that Freljord, how you can play her with just trying to go into that Loris front line a little bit more, and certainly nice to start the day off with that.
Yeah, Dumble with a very standard Bruiser opening as well. The Blades works good on Ahri because she can get mana regeneration. They're an extra AP from it.
Oh, Saya, we can see on the right side of our screen with these units on board. We already have a Draven as well, so possible Noxus reroll situation. We've seen, obviously, that be quite good, but our first augment will determine a lot.
It absolutely will, and it's going to be silver augments here to start us off. Is usually something players are happy to see a little bit of lower impact, unless, of course, the recon bob comes through later on. But let's see what our players are picking up. I'm seeing a Jin 2 being made by Obo and Travis here.
Oh,
Also
does
got
get
a
the free
couple of
rolls coming in
upgrades.
from a slightly magical find. And as a lot of players have mentioned, it does provide you with that free Bard if you want it.
For Travis, he's not a player that loves the reroll, but Bard can be used in multiple different ways, obviously enabling lots of free rerolls, but also can get you to that level 9 and be able to stabilize with, free rerolls are good on any stage, but, a lot of times we're seeing them used on a level 7.
And this is just such a good start from Saya. He knows that he's ahead of the curve in points. Currently, the cutoff is about 42 for the top 8. He's well above that. So, just going for the max tempo play at the start of the game is going to start unlocking that LeBlanc as well.
It looks like we're seeing Setsuko's Caretaker's Ally on the other side as well. I would hedge a bet and say it could be Ashe, as we're seeing 2 of them, but we will get confirmation for you on that, of course. If it is Ashe, I think you're not too mad about this one. There's a couple that players just sell and play for tempo. Ashe, you can actually put on your board and then assemble a Freljord line around it.
I feel like what I've learned from Saya is just play a random reroll line. It doesn't even have to be S tier, because there's so many people that will be low on points and be failing on the fast 9s for you to do this. So far, no one has played the Tryndamere Ashe line unless it was in the previous 2 games in the tournament.
It is Ashe.
And I have to say that this is one of those lines that is very difficult to actually pull off. Usually players only go for this if they have a good artifact start.
Well, no artifacts to be seen, but the Quicksilver is one of the ideal items to put on our Tryndamere. But the problem is, when you're playing around this, you don't necessarily want to reroll. You get them on when you level. And so you kind of need to push levels, play around getting that 3-starred, but not necessarily 3-starring other things on your board.
That's right. It's certainly something that Setsuko will need to solve for us. At the same time, I'm looking over at our little right-hand side corner, and Elia is getting a lot of upgrades on those 1 costs here.
Uh-oh.
We are
Is this a page out of Raiko's book?
trying to be a little bit magician-y. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, getting that. Oh, we're going to sell it. So never mind.
All
We're not going to play around Shadow Isle.
Elia,
Instead,
Buyang
looks like
Itani.
we might be playing around Targon Malzahar, which is one of the best rerolls, best performing one from yesterday. And having a bunch of these lesser duplicators in line is a great way to start.
And because I found less of my units, I get to keep my loss streak. Sorry, Legion.
Honestly, I kind of love this from Elia, because you already know Weijin is on that Jinx reroll. You already know that players are looking towards Ionia. Noxus for sure someone is going to pick up. So trying to get the direction early and signal to the rest of the lobby to say, hey, I'm actually on this Maltz line, back off. I'm rolling now to try and get them on my board so nobody else